Never before have we had greater face a complex, rapidly changing world. Think of it a moment.
It is a world in which supersonic speeds are commonplace. It is a world that has seen the coming of the atomic bomb. It has seen the rise of the total state, the dictator, and the mass man. It is a world of new sensations, new excitements, new distractions.
So much to be learned by so many in so little time.
And I suppose you're here with no agenda, as per usual?
On the contrary, I'm here for comics.
How's your comic book collection, Brody?
Oh, it's going good, but I've been...
through that.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely ridiculous.
That's like bonkers. I don't appreciate that. So like I am not concerned about any of that at all.
Excellent. Hello, everyone.
Oh, we are here. Hello. How's everybody doing? Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday after Thanksgiving. How's everybody doing? I hope you guys all had a great holiday. Obviously, Andrew and I took the day off. We enjoyed it with family. Well, at least I did. I don't know what you were up to. You were probably doing the same thing.
I enjoyed it with the dog.
Yeah, that's family. That counts, even if the dog does not pay rent and continues to demand your attention.
He doesn't, but sometimes he barks like he thinks he pays rent around here.
Just tell him to get a job. Like children,
on
dogs, cats, all of them get jobs.
My main thing is to yell at him and say, "Hey, you pay no bills to be barking up in here."
And yet he doesn't learn. This is what I'm talking about. You need to just put him into a work program. just get him going. But yeah, guys, it's nice to be back after a week break. We had it looks like we're having our first stream, as far as you guys know, without any tech problems. So that's actually pretty nice. So hopefully that holds. There's no more YouTube shenanigans. I mean, last time that was all on like YouTube. I have no idea what happened with that like 20-minute gap where we just died. So no idea what was up with that. Everything looks to be going way better this week. We also, but more to the point, more to what we are actually talking about. We have a lot of comics to get through. Obviously, there's about 2 weeks of comics. We're not going to go through everything, but we are going to hit the big highlights, of course. Your X-Men's, your Absolutes, your Spider-Man. I don't even think they're. Oh, I guess Venom counts as a Spider-Man book. I was going to be like, is there even any new Spider stuff? But
no, wasn't it last week that Amazing Spider-Man came out? Or my
no, that was last week. That was last week.
Yeah. Right.
But even I have like. Amazing is it's still hard for me to remember that I'm like actively reading, willingly actively reading Amazing, right? Because like
right now it's fine. I mean, it's
right.
not Zeb Wells, so I mean, in all honesty, it's not like we could do worse.
That's literally kind of how I am. I'm like, we were at the bottom. I don't know how we could go any lower unless they made like an issue where Peter and MJ like came out and spoke to the broke the fourth wall and was like, hey, I don't like you readers. Go to hell. And then there was like 6 pages of MJ and Peter, or MJ and Paul like getting it on while Peter watched in a cuck chair. Like that's the only way you could go lower. And I don't
God,
that doesn't sound like what's going to happen. It's nightmare fuel, but I feel like that's what Zeb Wells wants. He goes to bed at night going, I couldn't pull it off. I didn't have enough time on the run to pull off my weird NTR fan fiction about Paul and Mary Jane and Peter. So
I didn't need like any of that image, by the way. I don't know if you're aware of this.
That image in your head, that uncomfortableness you're experiencing, that is the experience of reading
there.
Zeb Wells's Spider-Man run. That is how you feel all the time. I'm just catching you up to speed
because I didn't mess around with that run, and I never will.
I know I showed you, but for the viewers out there, which I see you all, we'll say hi in a second. We're just doing the intro to the show. But if you guys know the comic website AIPT. They have a lot of previews, interviews. They're pretty big, but they do reviews every week of every new release, whether it's a single or a trade paperback or what have you. And like 2 weeks ago, they put up their review for the latest Amazing Spider-Man trade, which is the what do I call it? The Spider-Man Who Laughs one, where he goes full like Spider Goblin. And their caption was just like, "You already know how you feel about this run." Like they were like, "There's no reason to even try and like review this." But yeah, aside from that, happy Marvel Rivals release day. I am legitimately excited. I haven't played it yet. I have it preloaded. I have seen on Discord, you know, a couple friends are playing it, including Phantom, who is in the chat, who we will say hi to in just a second. But I'm legitimately excited about that game. As somebody who used to play Overwatch obsessively, this hits like all the right, I don't know, everything about this game sort of hits the right bells in my brain, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's like the hero shooter, and then it's third person, which I always like third person over first person because I like seeing the action.
Way more.
Yeah,
it's not even close.
No, not even, like I can play a first person game, but really only shooters, right? Like there are a lot of games that try to be like first person melee games or brawlers, and I'm like, it just doesn't work for me. Like I like
Skyrim.
Yeah, like I couldn't get into Skyrim.
Rule number one why I don't play Skyrim.
Right? No, that's exactly why I don't play Skyrim. I played the intro and I was like, I'm gonna go play Devil May Cry. Like that's what I want. I want to see the character doing
Witcher,
stuff.
Or
right? Oh, Witcher is perfect. Yeah. But yeah, so like you've got the third person, you've got it's Marvel, so it's all the characters we love, and so far it seems, except for Iron Fist, it's all the versions we like. The Iron Fist stuff is just stupid, whatever. That's got to do with corporate. So you've got that. You've got a relatively good monetization system. You know, only things that cost money are cosmetics. The only thing that costs money is cosmetics. If you buy a season pass, a battle pass, it'll hold forever, which I really, really like, because like that's what I hate about Fortnite. When you get your battle pass, if you don't close it out, it's gone. And it's like, maybe I had something to do. Maybe I had Thanksgiving. Maybe I don't know. And so like, I think it just seems like they're really trying to make a good game here. And hopefully that translates to actual success.
Yes. I mean, I hope it's good. We'll see. We've had this discussion briefly on the channel before, or on someone's channel.
Someone.
Or somewhere, Discord. I don't know. Probably all of the above.
Probably all of them, yeah.
That, like, I used to play a good amount of Overwatch back in Overwatch 1. And I know you used to as well. And then Overwatch just kind of fell off a cliff. And so hero shooters are in a place of not good right now for the most part. And so there hasn't been a good one that's current in a really long time, not since Overwatch 1.
That's our fault though. We let Concord die. That was our fault. We as players shouldn't have let that happen.
I'm actually okay with accepting full responsibility for that game that I neither played nor purchased.
I want to find a physical copy somewhere. I'm not going to pay like exorbitant amounts of money, but if I can find one for like $5 or $10 at a Best Buy, I'm definitely picking that up just for the novelty of it. Probably worth way more than all of that pack. Like $10 is worth more than that entire package combined, but I would still pay it.
It's not even close. Yeah, I wouldn't pay that much money for that. That's overpriced. That's just a bad way of expending your expendable income.
See, and I'd rather spend my expendable income buying new skins for Jeff. All right, that's where all of my. Did you? I don't know if you saw, Andrew. I meant to share it with you guys in the Discord. I blanked. I got distracted. But have you seen how Jeff does his skins?
No, I haven't.
It's fantastic. So like his first skin is pink Jeff, like pink fuzzy Jeff. But instead of making Jeff pink and fuzzy, he just wears the costume. Like that was in his closet in the Venom or Jeff series. So he's like Jeff wearing like a pink shark costume. And I'm just like, that's cute. That's adorable. I like that as a way of doing costumes.
Okay.
He's the only one who does. Everybody else has like standard costumes, including the awful Scarlet Spider-Man one, which is the ugliest thing I think I've seen in a good long while. They're all standard, but I was like, that little detail is like, you guys care about making this game, right?
I'm happy for you that they added your favorite character in it. We finally have Ben Riley.
He made it. Ben's here. He's a debut freaking character as gosh, I guess I'll just pull it up for everybody to see. It was the way I found out about it was comical because I found out about it. We found out about this yesterday when Marvel Rivals was doing all of its sort of what do you call it, like pre-release stuff, lead up to the game, so on and so forth. And so I was, let's see, where is our browser? We can jump over here. So here is the Scarlet Spider skin that you get in Marvel Rivals only if you have a PS5. It's really stupid, but Sony's keeping on that exclusivity thing. Again, Andrew and our friend Trace just revealed this to me. I didn't know this. I didn't know that Marvel's Avengers still has Spider-Man locked only on PlayStation. I thought when that game died, I thought they let him go. But nope, which is insane. It's not even that good of a thing to have somebody go search out that version of that specific game. It's mind-boggling to me. But so, yeah, this is the Scarlet Spider skin that Andrew and I were just talking about. Absolutely ugly. So when this skin came out, this was a couple months ago, they were like, guess what? Marvel Rivals coming, first trailer. Oh yeah, anybody who plays early will get a special Scarlet Spider skin. And when I read that, I was like, of course, here we go. Hoodie Ben, this is our time. And then they showed this, which is Kane's Scarlet Spider outfit, kind of. Like, it's the colors, but then it's just Pete's regular suit. It really, something about this bugs me so much, Andrew. Like, the webbing still being here, the webbing being the same color as the rest of the suit. It's just bad. Like, I can't even really place it. It's just, it feels lazy. It feels too busy. It feels, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm trying to say about this suit.
That's meant to be a more simplified design, really.
Yeah.
It's not meant to have anything crazy. It's just the red, the flat red with the flat black, and that's it. Like, nothing wild. You don't need to add the web designs,
right?
Those elements. Doing so takes away the point of that. It's meant to actually differentiate it more from Peter's suit. And at this point, you're being dumb.
Yeah,
you're just being dumb. Why would you do that? You don't need to do that.
You really don't. It, like, the simplest thing, honestly, is just get rid of the webs. It wouldn't make it great, but it would make it better. And yeah, the webs just, I don't know why they bug me so. I'm going to have to go do like meditation under a waterfall and be like, why do the webs existing on this Scarlet suit bug me so much?
Spencer's over here getting freaking flashbacks and PTSD seeing this kind of crap. And then they add, I promise, even though we've well and long established that I would, in a heartbeat, throw away every single non-Peter Parker Spider-Folk character if it meant fixing him, right?
Yeah.
Fix him and MJ, cool. Get rid of all of them. I'm fine. Like, that's all I need. However, I was being funny when I said, what was it, like a week ago or something like that? Maybe not even a week ago. I was like, watch them add Ben Riley and it'll be Chasm.
Yeah.
And then I saw you post that and I was like, no, they actually did it.
Well, that's
my
actually,
heart actually physically broke for you because I like talking mess and poking fun
right,
because that's what friends
of
do.
Course.
But at the end of the
day, I always enjoy when you do.
I don't want you miserable. And I was like, no, you have one of the objectively coolest alternate Spider-Man suits in the history of ever. I would put it up there. It's like top 3 alternate suits. So we're not talking like the normal amazing suit. Top 3 alternate suits. That Ben Riley suit with the big spider across the chest, man, that suit design is chef's kiss. And instead you get Chasm.
We got Chasm. They actually added, like, the way I found out is I was talking to a couple friends and I was like really excited. I was like, oh, look, they're doing this cool battle pass thing. Look at all the characters that are coming out. And then at some point I was like, oh man, how lame. The Scarlet Spider skin is the only one we've seen for like Peter so far. This is, oh well, we'll probably get more. And my other friend was like, wow, I'm surprised you're not posting the Chasm one, LOL. And I thought he was messing with me. I thought he was doing the exact same thing you do, where it's like, oh, you know it's gonna be. And I went, you're no way. No. And I went to Twitter, Chasm Marvel Rivals, and I literally had like the Darth Vader end of episode 3 moment where it was just like, is Ben here? In your hubris, we added Chasm. No! Like it broke my heart.
I am so sorry. I genuinely felt horrible. Like for a second, I even felt bad about making the joke the handful of days prior.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, I'm like this with it right now. It was funny, but in hindsight, knowing it actually came to pass, I'm like, damn.
Like, oh, I didn't mean to, man.
Did I cause this to happen? Did somebody hear me through the ether? Right?
They're like, that's a great idea. We didn't know who else to add.
Right?
Or it's like, yeah.
The developers for Marvel Rivals were watching our show, right? Or they have a plant in my Discord channel, and
they probably got agents in all like big comic areas. So they're like,
yeah.
Rippaverse, we got it. We are the biggest, the most hard-hitting show on all of YouTube.
I mean, we could be that too, I guess.
I mean, that would mean writing more, and I just no thanks. I'm good. I got my own writing. I got bounding writing. I don't need to add more writing.
That's fair.
But speaking of writing, before we get into everything, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. So obviously, as always, there's always one comment that never gets through because it's left right when I open up everything. That was from Clone Geek. What is up, Clone Geek? First comment of the day. Clone Geek says, I don't think I've seen a title shoot itself in the foot as soon as All-New Venom has. People are pissed with Paul. Yes, they are, but there is, what am I trying to say here, Andrew? There's
context being left out.
Yeah. There's context being left out. It's not as clear-cut as like, oh boy, Paul is back. So we'll talk about it. Don't worry. Neither of us here are fans of Paul. Before we went live, we literally
see him die a gruesome death.
Right. Literally before we went live, we were having our like recollection of like, do you hate Paul more than me? No, I think we both hate Paul equally. I think so.
Yeah, like I'm all for having a freaking one-off Marvel Red Label Spider-Man issue where we just see Paul get absolutely brutalized at this point because he's that useless of a character.
I almost wouldn't want to give him that because in writing a comic book, that would mean after he gets eviscerated because of the story, we'd have to have like an issue or like half an issue of like Mary Jane and Peter and everybody being like, oh, he was so great. I can't believe we let him down. And it's like, he doesn't even deserve that. I just want him blinked out of existence. Just like one day be like, all right, Mary Jane, I'm leaving for interdimensional cigarettes and I'm never coming back. Just done. That's all I want.
Pretty much. I you know what? And I'm fine with that too. If he just F's off, cool. Like, just go away.
Well, that's
nobody wants you here. Nobody likes you. Don't even go here.
You don't go here. You're not even from this earth. I mean, that doesn't count anymore. Everybody is here.
I was going to say, like, half the spider folk that are around that aren't Peter are freaking from a different alternate universe right now.
I didn't know that that Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider series is already at 8 issues. That seems really fast. Are they doing it like, I don't know if they're doing it like twice a month, but I noticed that. And I was just like, huh. Oh, well.
I think it's monthly. No, I think it is monthly.
Time is flying then, because I remember us talking about, probably not on the show, but like I know we talked about 8
months ago. I'd barely just moved up to the Dallas area.
Right, like you didn't even have your LCS yet, or like your new like specific LCS yet.
Yeah, I hadn't swapped over to my new LCS until like I want to say like April is probably when I first started frequenting my my current LCS, and they're awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if they weren't, I would presume you wouldn't keep going back to them week after week.
Yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't. I'd be like, yeah, you know what, I'm okay. I can
I
can peruse comics via other means if I
didn't
want to support you.
And I mean, I'm sure you're like me. Like you've probably had really bad experiences with comic book shops where you go in and like.
Yeah, I have actually. There was one in Austin that I won't name them. But there was one in Austin that was just like, you guys are kind of douchey. Like, you don't need to be that way. It's just. And it's the douchey when, and I get it. Like, I don't walk into geek spaces and look like who you would normally expect to find sometimes in a comic book store, right?
Yes.
Or in a or a comic book convention, things like that. That's stereotyping a little bit. Sure, why not?
Sure.
But the stereotypes exist for a reason sometimes, and many times. And so they were talking to me in such a way that they assumed that I didn't know anything, right? And
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm not by default a confrontational person in terms of like, you got to really show me disrespect for me to be like, all right, because otherwise it's just not worth my time, right? Or my energy. It's not worth my peace. I'll just go off and
I'll just go like,
elsewhere.
I'll take my business elsewhere, and then I'll go like tell my friends like we're doing now. I'll be like, this place sucks, and I'll vent. But yeah, I won't necessarily get in the guy's face. Or
I'm not
whatever.
gonna like tit for tat. Where's your manager? Blah blah blah. that ain't worth my time, right? However, it was funny that like they were talking to me in such a manner to suggest that like I didn't actually know what was going on. Like, so even when I wasn't buying comics for a few years, like between whatever it was, like 2019 or early 2020
to like now,
like just like earlier this year, right? I was still keeping up with things,
of course,
right? Because I was still wanting to be in the know, because if I was ever going to comment on something, I want to make sure I'm not talking out of my butt.
Yeah,
because that's called being intellectually honest. That's why you guys come here.
That's why you're here. That's what we have to offer you.
And speaking of intellectually honest comic book talk,
what do you say we talk about some comics? Well, first, before we talk comics, let's say hi to everybody else, because we have Phantom Wars is here. Phantom is great. Spencer is a noob. Common sentiment. I definitely know that Andrew would agree with you. Corey is here. Double gay. I mean, absolutely 2 scoops of double gay. I actually like this one from Subhuman. It's the return of 2 gay guys and a stack of comics. I kind of like that. If only.
That's pretty funny, actually. I'm here for it.
Right? I think I'm going to try and find a way to use that sub. And if I do use it, you'll obviously get credit. Subhuman, I read the first story arc of the new Dick Tracy. I recommend it. I think it's just like a proper series now, right? Like a comic book series sub. It's not like a newspaper thing. I think I saw that floating around on the internet out there. I haven't heard anything about it. You're the first rec I've heard. If it's good, I'd be happy. I will admit, like, I'm sure a lot of us have the same sort of reflex, but when I see an old character revived and just base like they're coming back, I don't know anything about what the project is. I don't know who's on it. I just see like a headline, right? Like Dick Tracy has a new series in 2024. I immediately go, oh, what are they going to do to him? Like, you guys, so few writers across the board, across every medium, understand characters and source materials and what makes things enjoyable, that I'm like, I saw the Dick Tracy one and I was like, I don't know if anybody can write like a good pulp detective story anymore. So I'm very glad to hear that sub. If I get around to it, I will check it out. Dick Tracy's one of those things I feel like I should know and like have read just for posterity as a comic book person. I just haven't gotten around to it. But I know it's so influential to everybody.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not so much that it's in the cultural zeitgeist actively right now.
Not anymore,
but it had just such an impact.
Right.
Just generationally, I think. So it's, even if it doesn't have something current that, people are all jazzed about, like, its effects ripple from generation to generation.
Oh, 100%.
You can see its influence.
I mean, to this day, you can throw a character in a yellow suit and everybody would be like, oh, that's Dick Tracy. I know exactly who that is. All right. Phantom War says, me and my friends are about to play it. Good luck to you, bro. And hey, got to support my homie. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Phantom. I don't know if you're listening while playing, but good luck in Marvel Rivals. We'll have to add gamer tags or whatever system they use. I don't know, because it's on like Steam and other whatever.
I installed it last night. So.
I did too, for like 40 gigs. Or whatever it was, which I keep complaining about, but that's actually not that bad compared to most games these days.
I was gonna say, bro, like when Final Fantasy Rebirth comes out next year on PC, like, I'm sorry, you're gonna wish it was 40 gigs. You're gonna wish it was 80 gigs.
Isn't 16 like 200 gigs or something? Like, I know 16 is fat.
No, 16, I think including all of the DLC because I got the edition.
You got the like package,
yeah, I was gifted for my birthday actually from shout out to Trace, our buddy in the
Trace!
chat. He actually gifted that to me for my birthday, and I have only had the chance to play through the prologue, but I was
still that. Okay,
I just have not had to.
No,
I know. Things, but
no, both. But
I love
the lack of time
prologue.
doesn't surprise me. Yeah,
I loved the prologue. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to play more of this. And I just have not had the time yet. But what I have played of it, I absolutely am loving. And that's at the risk of this becoming a game talk.
I know.
I just want to pull up the, installed files. 152 gigs is how much that is.
It's not as bad as 200, but it's still sizable. So
well, it's smaller than like the more recent Call of Duties, I guess.
The more recent Call of Duties, all the Assassin's Creed games, like that's the thing.
Western devs for the most part also don't know piss all about frickin' optimization and
that's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah, they don't know frickin' what the hell they're doing.
Like Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to come out, and you're going to have like a 500 gig install. Watch,
oh,
and then for some
God.
reason, instead of like deleting the installer afterwards, so it saves some space, it'll like double it. Be like, well, you need to have another copy of the installer just in case. I don't know.
You're giving me freaking PTSD already.
I mean, the good news is you won't have to experience that PTSD because I don't imagine you're going to be playing that game, or if you are, maybe not for like 20 years when you've forgotten about everything, about how truly terrible it was, and you pick it up for like $1 on sale.
Nah, ain't happening.
All right, we also have Matt here, Swift -1. Oh, he's shortened the name. That's crazy. What is going on? How are you doing, Matt? Timon, yep, boo. Ben Riley is dead. He has never been deader than he is now. You guys, we're not going to get into it because I was the only one who read it. It's really not a good series, but that they recently wrapped up that Chasm Curse of Cain miniseries that spun out of all the end of Zeb Wells' run stuff.
Was it a 4 or a 5 or a 6?
It was a 4. It was a 4, which I was surprised. I think it was supposed to be 6.
At least you didn't have to read more than 4.
Well, if they'd have given me more than 4, we would have actually had a story. Like just to wrap it up, like I gave this brief recap to you a couple weeks ago, but like the entire miniseries is Cain hears through the wire that Ben is, Breaking Bad. He needs to go check in on his brother, goes to confront him. Ben is being mind controlled by Druig of the Eternals to cause chaos, just be a bad guy, attack people, yada, yada, yada. And the reason for it is just cause. Like Druig, they confront Druig, and Druig's like, I just do this sometimes. I go and I find people who are like damaged and in power, and I mess with them. That's all. And that it was like, so you just picked Ben? Why did you even pick Ben? Like, he's not even the most powerful person you could have gone after right now. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then Cain and Ben fight, and Ben makes like an axe with his goo web thing, and then Cain
just does what Carnage does.
Yeah, I guess they don't explain it. I don't know what Ben's weird web powers are. It bugs me because you guys all know. Initially, I've been like, Chasm's stupid. All this is stupid, but I like when he makes the like God of War blades with his.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like I was like, that's
something
cool.
to kind of differentiate him.
But then they've just started giving him like they started doing like the Miles and Gwen thing with him. Like they just give him powers. Like
hey, people don't like this character. Maybe they'll like them more if we just give them more powers.
That is exactly what it is. There is in Chasm Curse of Cain. There's this. It's the first time I remember seeing it. So I would bet money this is probably the first time they've ever mentioned it. But Ben's about to get hit by like a big giant. Like Vermin, the rat monster that Spider-Man always fights. It's a big hybrid version of that. So it's just like a big crushing monster. And he's about to get hit by it. And it's like his spider sense goes off. But, okay, like in the comics when it happens to Peter or Ben or Cain, normally it's just like that effect over their head, but it looks like that spiky crown.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of it being an effect, for Ben, it's a physical fucking thing. Like his sense goes off and it makes this like spike crown around him that physically like stops and hurts anybody that comes near him. It's like a self-reactive defense mechanism. And I'm just like, what is that? That's stupid. That's not what spider sense is supposed to be. You're supposed to have the
No, it's not.
the trigger
So
and
in the context of it being like spider sense, I get. So maybe because on its own, on paper, I kind of like that concept. It reminds me a bit of Gaara in Naruto when he had the freaking.
Oh yeah, that's actually, I know what you're talking about.
When he had his tailed beast, right? For whatever reason, the freaking thing's name is escaping me right now. No, Kurama would have been Naruto.
Oh right, duh.
What was I gonna say? The initially, like the sand, he wasn't even having to control it. Like it just did its stuff all on its own to protect him, and it's kind of similar to that. And so that's cool. That's not putting it in a physical manifestation. Isn't what spider sense is.
Right.
You could possibly sell me on the idea. Let's pretend that Chasm was a cool idea. Let's say it's a completely different character entirely. Let's say it's not Ben Reilly. Let's say Chasm is his own thing, right?
Yep.
Chasm is his entirely own thing. And he got that similar in the way that the Venom symbiote has carried forward that initial bonding with Peter forward to all of the other people that he has bonded with, right? So he kept kind of that spider aesthetic and all of that, the swinging and yada yada.
Yeah.
So let's say that Chasm has something similar to that happen, and because he's this like corrupted dark thing or whatever, instead of it being this invisible, you know, instinctive reaction and, you know, kind of prediction thing, that it does manifest in that physical way, because he's darker, he's you know, there's a lot more gritty, he's more violent, yada yada. I could be convinced to make that work in a one-off scenario, like if he was his own thing. But to circle it back around, making it part of Ben is just dumb, because Ben is Ben, and while
he's a spider
not Peter,
person.
he's a Spider-Man, right? And so he's supposed to have normal spider sense.
Yeah, and like you're not wrong. It could, like, you're right. It's very Venomy. It's very Gaara-y.
Shikaku, thank you, Timon.
Yes, Shikaku. There we go. Like you're not wrong in that regard, but I guess maybe the thing that gets me about this is it's like you're right. It could be a cool idea. You could sell it in some way, but it's just they pulled it out of their butt for no reason. There's no explanation to it. It's just it's here now.
That's what the Spider Office has been doing for a few years now. So before we get into like the books, did you see? I think you sent it to me, but I don't know if we talked about it. There is a letter in the most recent I think it's in the back of All-New Venom on the letters pages. Nick Lowe reveals that not the Spider Office isn't just the Spider Office anymore. It's like, of course it's Spider-Man, and then it's like the related people like Venom or Spider-Boy or whatever, but they're also doing the Hulk stuff, which was really, I don't really care about he's not one of my favorite characters. I'm not reading the current run. I read Immortal Hulk, which was absolutely incredible. Lots of, all credit to Al Ewing and Joe Bennett, who's over at the Rippaverse now. It's just fantastic. But I feel bad for Hulk fans that they're being like dragged into this. I don't know. I feel like the Spider Office should be a containment zone now. As sad as that is to say. Yeah.
Just get them away from us.
This zone is a biohazard. And I'm not referring to the Japanese title for the Resident Evil franchise. So
I still get confused about like when they go like new biohazard. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh yeah, it's Resident Evil. And then Clone Geek, Venom, and Hulk used to be a separate office together. They were, and now whatever's going on over there, the way they're consolidating it, the more power given to Nick Lowe and them, the worse. There's just nothing.
Is a bad idea.
You can give him any character, right? Go give him Squirrel Girl if you have to.
I was about to say Squirrel Girl. Give him Squirrel Girl or non-Ultimate Universe America Chavez. Because I actually so far kind of like Ultimate Universe America Chavez.
Her moment in this week's issue, I was genuinely this is crazy.
I was like,
cool.
Dope. I was like, why has this not been the character all along?
She's so good in this week's issue. It's crazy. Yeah, Clone Geek Spider-Boy is a pointless character whose title has no target demo. You're right on your first point. You're very wrong on your second point, Clone,
Yeah.
because it has a target demo, and that target demo is Dan Slott and Dan Slott's burner account. Like, that is the only character who is there. It's such a. We've talked about Spider-Boy before. It's a lazy reiteration of a concept that it's just, what if Peter had his own Robin, and it isn't even that good. It isn't even that.
No,
solid.
like if you're gonna do the Peter having his own Robin type of thing, I guess if you're going to use him, use Miles.
Right, he's right
but
there.
Instead, what they do, and I can speak on this because I was reading, and I want to put in bold right here and highlighted in neon lights, was past tense reading Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh.
Because I no longer am. I finally took it off of my poll list. I finally remembered.
Thank you.
Because what they did is they treat them like they're equals. And I'm sorry, they're not.
They are not equals by any measure. And no, that in Spectacular, it feels so forced. It really, really feels. That entire book, I think that's the perfect term for it. Forced. You have your forced, like, Peter Miles admiration respect relationship. Like, that feels all forced.
It feels like it's out of left field. It doesn't feel like it was built organically at all.
No,
it's just we're gonna pretend like these two are on equal footing as people and as superheroes. Like, well, come on, man.
Well, like that. Really? That's what I mean. Is I feel like that book was specifically written for the weirdo Miles is Spider-Man, activism crowd, because like Peter and Miles are on this weird equal footing, and we mean weird. Like, when we say they're on weird equal footing, guys, we know that in like lots of the movies and the comics, like, they're partners and they work together, but there's always this sense of like, we're friends and we're working together, but I still have final say. If something's gonna go wrong, I'm Spider-Man. Like, follow my lead.
To their credit, like in the Insomniac games,
right? Exactly. Or in the Spider-Verse movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, Miles is the one leading the team, but everybody is sort of relying on Peter's advice, as a fallback, if you will. Everybody's going, but like, we all know if we get there, we got to turn to Peter. In Spectacular Spider-Man, it's, oh, do we turn to Peter? No, we turn to Miles. No, we turn to Peter. And it's like, can somebody take charge of the situation here? Can anybody do anything? And then more than that, more than the random huffing up of Miles, it's all of the like therapy crap that was in all of these issues.
Well,
like,
that was where I dropped it, because the first arc was mildly tolerable, and mostly because it was my boy Humberto Ramos doing the interiors. And that's why I picked it up. I'm like, oh, Humberto Ramos is doing the covers and the interiors. I'll pick it up. I'll read the first arc, and that's what my intention was. Then I forgot to remove it off my poll list because it's a completely different interior artist on the book when it comes to the second arc, which started in like, I think issue 8 or something. Like, the first arc was like 7 issues. It was weird.
It was really weird.
Yeah, and honestly, they could have trimmed that down to 6 issues because there was plenty of useless crap in there that you did not need a full issue for, or at least you could have collectively from those 7 issues trimmed down what would amount to 1 issue, right? And get rid of that, and now you have a 6-issue arc. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's the entire reason why I read that book. And I was like, okay, this is fine, whatever. There were a couple of interesting ideas presented, but I was constantly annoyed at this, back and forth, pretending. And I say pretending because it was not organic. Pretending like Miles and Peter are on equal footing. I do not care if you are the legit world's biggest Miles fan and you genuinely love the character. I'm happy for you. He has a cool suit, except for when they made it retarded.
As it currently is now, right? Like, I think that's what he's wearing now.
So dumb. Why would you? He actually had a decent suit, right? But anyway, it doesn't land. I don't buy it. Not one bit. I was like, you cannot convince me that these two are on an equal playing field. And then obviously there's they would have to insert all of the little things that are like Peter making jabs at himself in terms of like talking about, oh, wow, I wish I could do that. Or you've got that cool power, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, that doesn't come off as organic either. Peter doesn't need any of that crap.
He makes a quip about the sword. Like Miles is like, oh yeah, I can make a sword, and Peter's like, oh man, I wish I could do that, and I'm like, no, you don't. Nobody should have a sword as a spider person.
No,
Get out of my
has
face.
A sword. She needs a sword because that's her bit.
Right.
You don't need a sword.
You know who can have a sword? Magic can have a sword. Katana can have a sword.
Yes.
That's maybe Wonder Woman from time to time. She can have a sword.
Yes.
And,
I like Wonder Woman with, I think, most of the weapons that she's utilized.
I think the only weapons I would not like Wonder Woman using are guns. I think when she uses,
I would never. Yeah, no. I'm talking like.
No, yeah.
I like her.
I'm
going
agreeing
sword
with
and
you.
board.
Yeah.
I like sword and board. I like the just having the lasso of truth and her bracers. I like freaking a javelin, a spear.
A javelin. Sometimes she uses
That's
like
cool.
axes or hammers or something like.
That's cool.
That
But
I'm there for that.
Spider people don't need a freaking sword. Why the hell do they have the spider powers? No.
It's because they want to be special, don't you know? Now I can sell more, or I can at least not sell more, but I can put more action figures to languish on the shelves of Miles with a sword. Now there's a new version of him. Hooray!
Giving characters random ass powers that have nothing to do with their normal power set just cause is stupid. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
It has
you
only
give the
ever...
Flash a sword?
Well, it's only ever worked one time in all of history of all of comic books. Giving a character random superpowers just on a whim has worked one time, and that was Superman back in like the 40s. And then they went, okay, we got to make it make sense. So the ice breath, the heat vision, they all wrapped it up into actual mythos. But back then they were like, just let him do whatever. I don't care. He can eat metal, sure. But let's see. Yeah, Clone Geek, and now Miles is a vampire. It is really dumb. They still don't even really touch upon that. There was one miniseries that did by our girl Erica Schultz, and they just don't talk about it anymore. So all of Blood Hunt was completely useless.
I was gonna say, did that event have like any? Because I was reading all of the X books, or most of the X books, for a while there.
Yeah.
And then the Spider books, all the Venom stuff. Not once was there anything that remotely suggested that Blood Hunt was a thing. It was like it just didn't even happen.
There are three things that Marvel has taken away from Blood Hunt, and that was Miles is a vampire, which they kind of don't really do anything with. The second was vampires don't have a weakness to the sun anymore, and now they just live in the world, which is okay, sure, whatever, shut up, I don't care. And then Doctor Doom is Sorcerer Supreme. But that last one is literally just, we did that to set up the next event. So I don't even know if you would really count that as a consequence of Blood Hunt. So no, nothing happened there.
What a pointless waste.
Just pointless waste of paper, pointless waste of time. I read most of that miniseries just out of curiosity, and it was not good. It was not worth my time at all. But
the interiors were solid enough.
Well, I mean, yeah, the Pepe Larraz always kills it on art. You really can't go wrong with him.
Pepe Larraz is pretty much a G.
Like I loved all of his art, but that was one of the first, if not the first, Red Band books that they do. And I'm not against the Red Band books. Obviously, you and I read the Wolverine's Revenge Red Band, but I'm against the Red Bands have so much more content and different content.
I was going to say they have just about a page, at least a page or more's worth of extra content, or rather, not even extra content. It's like it was
the actual
for the
content.
other version.
Yeah,
yeah. It's like, this is the actual book.
Like in Blood Hunt, there's a couple. Like in the Red Bands, there's a couple moments where they're fighting. Basically, Blade gets possessed by an ancient vampire, and he summons like a bunch of monstrous, like his robot masters, right? He's like, vampire robot masters, the 6 of you, defend me. And they are there, but they don't really do anything until the last issue where they all get like laid out. And I was like, that's lame. They have kind of cool monster designs. We all know how I like that. And I was like, that's cool. I want to see them do something. Oh, they were just there for set dressing. But then I went back and I read the Red Band ones, and all of the Red Band issues have like interactions between those robot masters and the heroes and the actual plot, and they talk and they scheme. And I'm like, this seems very, very crucial. This seems like something you really should have included in the standard one, however you had to. But this seems like a big thing you've left out.
I was gonna say, all you had to do with the red band stuff is just like have that be where I guess you have all your gore, if that's what you want to do. That
right.
Like you can tone that down for the normal releases, but like taking away crucial panels and story content, like that's not helpful.
Right. I mean, the way they already do it, right? Where they essentially draw like one version of the issue and then they go back and they, redraw a panel here or there to give you an alternate thing. Okay, for example, remember in the last issue where Wolverine cuts off, oh my gosh, what's his name? The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, the psychic guy who like controls everybody. They never use him anymore.
I was gonna say, no, I was shocked when I saw him in. I was
right.
like, what?
Yeah.
Was it not Mind Master? What the hell is? That's gonna bug the absolute crap out of me.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Please tell me this is the right issue that I have sitting in front of me. That can tell. Nope, this is the one with Omega Red and Deadpool. Dang, what was? I think it's Mastermind. I think you might be right. I think it's Mastermind. That sounds right. Let's see. Brotherhood. Who can get it first? You can look it up, and I'll say hi to everybody. There we go. We'll divide. We'll divide it. No, I don't think it was Games Master. I don't think it was.
No.
Like the guy we're talking about, he was like one of the very first members. He wears like a frock, like a friar's frock. That was his costume that Stan and Ditko.
Yeah, it was Mastermind.
Yes. Okay, we were close. We had Mind Master, then we went Mastermind, and we got it. So
yeah.
In that issue, remember, he goes and he confronts Mastermind, and in the Red Band one, he cuts off his head and he like presents it to like the guards. He's like, I'm leaving, move. But in the regular one, it's just like a shot of him post-fight covered in shadow walking past the guard. And I'm like, you could have done a shot where it's like Wolverine from behind, right? And it's all black silhouette holding the head.
Exactly.
And now I know what's going on. But yeah, so that was the first instance of like that, which I'm not a big fan of, even though I really like the Red Band stuff. But yeah, overall, Blood Hunt, it's a fart.
Yeah.
But Blood Hunt is neither here nor there. We are actually out of it. There's nothing from that series that matters anymore. But we do have new books that probably won't matter within, 2 months, knowing editorial. But hey, we at least have them now, and they're fun to talk about. So let's get into some books. Andrew, what do you want to start with?
You know what? Since we're talking about X stuff, let's talk about X-Men number 8. Let's start it off on a mid note.
Well, do you only want to cover 8, or do you want to roll last week's Uncanny into this?
We can wrap Uncanny into that as
well. All right.
I think it makes sense to wrap Uncanny into that.
Let's hopping off of what Clone Geek sort of says here. Marvel needs to put out less titles. Do we really need 10 X books? No, we do not. Most of the X books, though, I will say right now, are pretty enjoyable. There's maybe like 3 that I'm like, this is bad. Like Wolverine's pretty bad because it's just like boring. X-Force is really, really terrible. Like, don't even get me started on that book. And then
X-Factor isn't any good either.
Never mind. It's 4 because there's X-Factor. That's not really very good.
And then there's Exceptional.
Oh, 5 because there's Exceptional. There's Dazzler.
Exceptional, not all. Oh wow, yeah.
Dazzler is what I was gonna put too. That's the one I was closing out with, and I just forgot all the other ones. Like, yeah, another update for Dazzler, guys. The 3rd issue dropped. Exact same plot as the first 2.
Are they just reusing the same plot over and over in every issue?
They're doing the sort of like it feels like a TV show.
Is this Concert of the Week instead of Monster of the Week?
Kind of. Like, no, it really is. It feels like a not a sitcom, but like a dramedy based on like a pop star, right? Like if the premise of the show was like Allison Blair is a pop star and she's about to go on like her first big world tour, but more than any other tour, this is her first tour back since like insert big controversy. How will she navigate it? Find out this season. So you would expect a show like that, like
sounds
every
like
episode.
A show on the freaking E Network.
It is. It kind of is. Like every issue starts with.
That's like my ex watching Real Housewives of whatever.
It's even less than Real Housewives, because at least on Real Housewives, I know it's all for the camera guys, of course, but like at least they go crazy. Like they tell the women, like, you know, go off the rails. Here it's
dial
just
it up to 12.
Here it's just the most like middle of the road. Like Dazzler won't stand up for herself, but she won't give up, so she's just in this weird, I don't know. It's not good. It's not fun. And I say this as somebody who, I like Dazzler as a character a lot. I liked the setup of this. I thought they could have done something with it, but it really is just, here's, you know, it opens with, oh, that was a big disaster at our last show. Here's my team with like Strong Guy and Jamie Madrox and everything. Let's have a quick powwow. All right, tonight's show will be better. They have the show. Something goes wrong. Normally, some random supervillain attacks. Everybody captures it on their phone. Issue ends with Dazzler performing a song and then realizing like, oh no, I have to deal with this fallout tomorrow. It's so boring. It sucks so hard. Like, I'm glad you only picked up one issue of this.
I am too, because it was not good. I'm glad that I got that really nice foil variant, but that's it.
That's pretty much the best thing to come out of this series, like hands down, was just that cover.
Yeah.
But okay. But yeah, Clone Geek, obviously they could probably cut down on a couple books, as most publishers can, but at the very least, as we will probably get into right now, most of the X books are damn fine, enjoyable reads. So we'll start with this one.
Oh wow. That's a personal attack.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
But damn it, that new outfit for Emma is so good.
I love her costume. It's so cool. But
we just never get to see her in the book.
Well, because we haven't even really gotten to see her in the book. This was like the first time she really got to show up.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a bummer. Hopefully that you'll get some justice done in the future and they'll make like a figure out of it, or like a statue or something, because this is really like, A, it sucks that she's trapped in this awful garbage book, and B, yeah, like it's a good outfit. It should be rescued. It should be saved.
Yeah. Don't let that outfit go to waste being drowned by this horrible book.
Such a bad book. I can't wait till the next issue, honestly, because I have no expectations for it anymore. After this third issue, I was like, all right, we're just going to ride this out.
Yeah, I'm just going to... I did commit. I will finish out the first arc.
I will read as long as you read it, and then I'll probably keep reading it for a few issues after that, just to find things to make you mad. And then I'll probably get... And then after like a month, or like 2 months, I'll get bored, and we can move on.
Okay, that's nice to know. Thanks for the heads up.
But... in terms of really good books, we are back. Last week, we got another issue of Gail Simone's Uncanny X-Men. Probably best described as a filler issue. We just wrapped up the very first arc of meeting the Outliers and everything. The next issue starts the Raid on Graymalkin crossover for Uncanny. It started in X-Men this week. We'll talk about it right after this. It'll all roll together. But so, as we all know, not as we all know. So this issue, in its filler sense, it's focused on the 4 Outliers, and it really gets into some of their backstories, mostly my girl Calico, who I really love.
I'm glad she's getting a lot of focus right now.
I'm so happy. Yeah, I really, really like this character. I like all of the... I like her drama, genuinely. Like, I think her, being raised at... So that's what we get on the first page here, is a better look into her life, very sheltered, very controlled by her mother, to the point where like her mother, what happens in this scene is Calico as a little girl tells her mom like, oh, one of the kids of the new, a new groundskeeper told me about, like, he has a daughter. She goes to school. It's cool. I'd like to like meet her and, maybe go hang out with her one day. And her mom's like, okay, we'll see.
And her mom loses her freaking skull.
Dude, and like, so Calico leaves the room, and her mom's like, calls like the head groundskeeper and is like, hey, this groundskeeper, the new one we just hired, yeah, he was like pleasuring himself while looking at me through the window. He needs to go right now. So it's like
just completely making crap up, and it's
just
like, what
super
the hell is wrong with this woman?
Right, and so we're getting more and more just into her poor backstory. We know from past issues that she's just like, she's one of those almost like like cult children who've only known one thing that's been fed to them forever, and that informs their entire view of everything. Like her mom, the whole goblins thing. Like her mom told her that all bad people out there are literal goblins. So that's what she believes, you know, when she sees the last issue when they get in that fight with all the hooded figures from, what group were they a part of? I guess, were they with Sarah or were they with the Graymalkin prison?
I think they were with the where they got into the fight. Those are with Sarah.
They're with Sarah, okay,
because the Graymalkin, the warden, she called.
Oh, that's right.
She called to warn them
to tell Rogue like, here's a warning. That's right. So yeah, like even when she saw them, they're basically humanoid, but oh no, goblins. So we get more of a look into Calico's backstory, and like I really like this moment. It
was a good moment with Remy.
It's a good. So there's this moment here where she's really scared about being a mutant, like she doesn't know what to do, and Gambit kind of takes her aside and is like he gets her, right? Like he gets this sort of like just being a mutant, being an outcast, sort of trying to find his way. But what I liked that Remy, I don't know if you've noticed this, but this moment really sold this to me, and I wonder if this is what Gale's going for. But in this run, I don't think Gambit realizes it, but he's stepping up a lot. Like
he really is.
He's
stepping
crazy
forward as a lot more of a leader than he ever has been in the past, and it doesn't feel forced either.
No, it feels completely natural. Like we had the whole Eye of Agamotto thing where he was the one to sacrifice himself by taking it. Then we had all of the stuff when he was leading the camp against Sarah or Sarah's forces in the last arc. And then we have this, like, there's just a lot of moments where Gambit's like, I'm stepping up because I know what to do. And yeah, you're right. Like, he's being a leader. But I like that I don't think he's being conscious of it. Like, he's not going, we need a leader now, I need to step up. He's just like, I'm going to help. Like, I'm going to use my experience to let everybody know what's sort of going on. Yeah. So and then what I really liked about this in particular, and I thought of you when I read it, is so Rogue is the one who's going to talk to Calico about everything, and then Gambit steps in. He's like, no, give me a second. And Rogue makes this comment about like, if it was anybody else, I would have been like, I'm suspicious of why you want to be the one to like step in and talk to her. But she's like,
I would have been like, have a seat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, have a seat. But she's like, it's Gambit. Okay, I'll trust him. And I was like, again, Andrew, it's one of those healthy relationship things that we don't see.
They're doing a really good job of showcasing Gambit and Rogue as having a really genuinely healthy relationship.
Very genuinely healthy, even to the point where like when they yell at each other, there's no like the one I'm specifically thinking of is last issue or the issue before that, when Rogue calls back to the house and she's like, you need to be ready. They're all coming. Like, I'll hold off Sarah, but
and Remy's like, I'm gonna go
like,
help you.
He's like, I'm coming right now, and she's like, you do not. You stay the hell there.
You stay there and protect those children.
Right, and but she was mad, she was angry, she was forward, but there's been no moment where Remy's like, can we talk? I don't know how we are now after being yelled at like that.
Right,
He's like, I get it. You're right. Okay, heat of the battle moment. Orders. Rogue is the leader of this team technically, so yes, all right, Rogue, we're good. So I just really like, it's positive. We don't get a lot of that positivity here. But then
not in relationships, not in comics.
Not in relationships. And so it's I just always have like a really big affinity for good, healthy romances. I mean, the drama's always good, or can be good and enjoyable, but make it healthy at the very end of it.
Yeah. But then you don't have to sacrifice the relationship on the whole at the altar of drama.
No, I think that's exactly the way this is why we work so well. I come out with like the most 400 like mile way to get to a point, and then you just go, yeah, you mean this, and I go, yeah, I do mean that. So this is a really so this moment right here where she realizes she's a mutant and like embraces it, I like it because it keeps playing into like what we see in X-Men #8. Like this is a freeing moment for her, and she's like leaning into it. She loves it, and
it's kind of her let it go moment.
Right. That is actually pretty good. Yeah, it's her let it go moment. And I don't know if you felt this, but this feels like a big contrast to what you and I always complain about, which is Marvel's retreading the same thing about mutants. Oh, we're so persecuted. We're so sad. Like, I don't remember the last time, you know, obviously Krakoa, but screw Krakoa. But like, when was the last time mutants were like, I'm a mutant. This is awesome. This rules. Like, I'll embrace it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this,
I
I'm
can't
just
tell
like,
you the last time I remember reading that.
so it's just really nice that Gale is just sort of avoiding all these normal pitfalls that honestly, 6 months ago, I would have expected her to hit all of these.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely,
I would expect her to be
every
tripping
single
over
one.
every damn one of them and laying the stones there herself.
Like, if you'd have told me that like an original Gail Simone character who is like a privileged upper class white girl, and it's like a commentary on like abusive parents, that would be one of my favorite new characters, and it was written by Gail, I'd have been like, no way. There's no way I like
you, whatever it is you're having, let me have some.
Yeah,
basically
exactly.
Is what you would have
like,
said.
please. So yeah, we get more great Calico moments, moments between Gambit and Rogue. The kids go to school, which I don't know enough. I feel like maybe I don't know enough about bullying anymore. Maybe I'm just too far out of like high school, but this bullying seemed a little over the top, I guess.
It was kind of cartoonish,
but not too much, but it like leaned it a little too hard.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, bullying has evolved.
Yeah,
because I was picked on. I was bullied.
Yeah. Oh,
up through high school.
Why do you
And
think we're
so
here?
It looks, right? So it doesn't look like it does on TV. It doesn't look like it does in cartoons and things like the bullying doesn't look like that. Ordinarily.
And I think maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. What they do in media and entertainment is they dial it up a bit, they embellish it a bit, they play it up to make it like land harder or look more serious, because if it was mostly a lot of the more subtle things rather than like physical confrontation or attempted physical confrontation, which isn't nearly as frequent as television or entertainment would have you believe, you know, it wouldn't come off as strong. So I think that's why they embellish it a little bit. So anytime I see it in media, I'm just like, I know why you're doing it that way, but I'm like, I've been bullied. It doesn't look like that.
Yeah. So I think that's you hit it right on the head. I think that is exactly why it doesn't land for me, because it's just one of those, like, if you know something, you'll never like look at a TV show or a movie and be able to let it go. Right. So it's like, we know how bullying works. It's not there. There are sometimes elements of this, like the first bit here where he like makes fun of her stutter right away. I was like, that feels
That's
real.
Definitely a thing. No,
Right.
that would definitely be a thing.
That feels real.
You would absolutely have jackasses that would do that.
But then, like, as it goes on and it's more of the like TV bullying, I'm like, dude, no. If we wanted to do like a show or a comic or a movie about real bullying, it would be like 70 pages of people on their phone and like one of them crying eventually.
Yeah, because they're just sending whatever mean texts or
making mean posts,
comments.
Anything like that. Like Andrew said, we've evolved in or not we, but society's evolved in its bullying.
It has.
So we get the kids, they get sent to school. Jubilee and Nightcrawler get sent on sort of an errand run, just sort of to help out the house that they're living in. While out on their errand, they get in the middle of a sort of, I guess it's a anti-mutant terrorist attack. I couldn't tell. I thought it was more of like an opportunistic thing, but
I'm not certain yet.
I couldn't tell yet. Yeah,
I don't really know if it was full on meant to be anti-mutant or if it was just a matter of convenience and circumstance. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know how important the answer to that is.
I don't think it's that important. It was just one of those moments where when I'm reading it, I was like, wait a minute, where did I miss it? Did I miss a bridge? Like, did I miss an exit? Do I need to make this turn somewhere? And in reality, doesn't matter. It was just sort of like, just the way it was laid out, I was like, did they cut the brakes on this truck somehow?
Right.
But then it's like, how would they do that? Yeah. But ultimately doesn't matter. I just figured maybe I missed something. You're always really good about picking up those details when I'm not.
Yeah, no, I think you and I got the same thing out of this sequence. I think there's just not an answer to that question.
Right. So we'll get back to that Wolverine bit in a second, but we'll keep on this right here just because it's the story. But it turns out that for whatever reason, the Graymalkin folks have hunted down and they're looking for the Uncanny X-Men, and in their employ are Toad, Blob, and Siren. So we saw in, I believe it's the Free Comic Book Day Uncanny, where she was like locked up. Like there's an issue where it's like a very brief story, so it's either at the end of something or it was in Free Comic Book Day, where the Graymalkin warden, she's going through like she's kind of giving like a rundown to somebody, but it's to the reader, and then they get to like the last room and she's like, and now we have our newest subject, and it's Siren, but she was like locked up, you know, thing over her mouth, so it was like, whoa. But I will admit, like, I saw Siren here and I genuinely had like a, oh wow, like oh, like what is obviously I know she's not doing this of her own volition, but it was just still sort of the imagery of seeing Siren of all people being on the other side of this, because you've got Toad and Blob, who Brotherhood members, I can see it, but then Siren, crazy, absolutely crazy. But so then there's sort of two parts to this resolution, which is one, Kurt, while he's out there dealing with the truck that was like a runaway truck, he saves the kid, saves the mom, saves their family, and we get this really touching moment where this woman's like, I don't care what you are. Like, I don't care that you think you're a demon. Like, you're an angel to me. I don't care about mutants. Like, and then this police officer just doing his job, because it is currently illegal in the Marvel like world to be a mutant or a superhero just in general. So this guy's coming out. He's like, I'm going to arrest him. And the woman's like, I have no idea where he went. I'm not going to help you. So I was just sort of like, I like this moment. This is another one of, like, it's cool, especially because Kurt's the one getting the love. And I feel like Kurt,
especially
Kurt
since it was Kurt that got that moment, because Kurt's the man. Yeah.
But I did like, even though it's so brief and sort of cliche, this moment where he saves the girl down there at the bottom and her mom's like, let me, like, get over here. And he's like, oh God. And she's like, thank you so much. Like, I was like, yeah, cheap smile, but I'll take that smile. I'm
smile,
good with
but
it.
A smile nonetheless.
There we go.
Yeah, I'll still take the smile.
So then, sadly, at least on my end, the other half of that resolution is it looks like Jubilee has been captured by the Graymalkin forces, and that's what Kurt is discovering. And then, so back to the Wolverine bit, we find out that Wolverine, there's this tradition that a lot of old soldiers used to do, or just groups of friends, where you all get together, you have like a bottle of whiskey, like something special, and you kind of go into this pact where it's like the last of us who dies, then you can crack it open and have a drink and sort of like say goodbye to everybody. And so Wolverine goes up to Rogue and Gambit and says like, hey, a bunch of my friends from like World War II, they just died, and I'm the last one left. And he's like, will you drink it with me? And Rogue has this revelation that, oh, you're not just like sad. Like, this isn't just tradition. You have like genuine PTSD over your life. So I want to ask, how do you feel about this? This sort of
it depends
angle.
on how they end up handling it, because we don't know now how they're going to handle it. And right now, Gail has earned herself a little bit of grace now with me to see like, okay, so how are you going to handle it, right? Because PTSD is no joke, especially if we're talking military PTSD, right? So if you're talking about it from that angle, there are certain ways that you need to handle it if you're going to do it both accurately as well as respectfully. And if done in a proper manner, I can see this working very well, because of course he would. Right? It would make sense for him to have it, because we've seen him get depressed. We've seen him get down a zillion times. So it's not like he's just out of the blue for the first time in his 80-year history or whatever, not 80, but like 60-year history of being a thing. Like, all of a sudden he's got this depression or something like that. No, this is a thing that's been around for at least a couple of decades. This is not new information. Now we're just actually putting more of an official potential, because that's something that ultimately it has to be diagnosed. You don't.
You
your
can't
friends
just
could. Your friends could say, hey, you are showing symptoms of this thing, but only an actual clinical professional can diagnose you and say whether or not, like, at least on paper, no, you do actually, or you do not actually.
And
have this thing.
there's no Beast or Xavier here right now. Like, there's no medical anybody.
Right.
It's just Rogue and Gambit. Like, they're doing their best.
and to be fair, these are two of the people that have known him the longest in terms of people that are still alive and around,
Yeah.
right? So if there are people who would at least have that kind of insight, they would be chiefly among them. So I think there are a lot of things set up here for it to be organic and for it to work. The question is going to end up being in the execution, right? Is this
Yes.
something that is just going to be a one-off line and they do nothing with it? Well, then you shouldn't have put the line in
Then
there.
why was it even there? Yeah.
Right? Was it just for shock value? I hope not. I don't think that that's the case, because right now, again, Gail has earned a little bit of grace with me.
100%.
So I don't think that she would do that, especially given how respectfully she's handled all these characters so far in this book.
So
right?
far, yeah.
So far, like, let's look at how she has handled the character of Logan throughout this entire run of hers so far. Incredibly respectfully, incredibly on point. This, with that context, I don't think seems out of pocket, because she's already shown that she understands the characters.
Yes.
So I'm willing to see where it goes.
Okay. So I asked that because my feelings are sort of, well, they were out on it, but after listening to you, I think I'm more on your side, because I'm with you. Like, we've seen this from Logan, and it would make 1,000% sense that he would have something like this. And like, he's lived for hundreds and hundreds of years. And like, I really like that bit down there in the bottom panel where Rogue's like, I can't do this. Like, Remy, do you not understand? Like, he will live forever, but his his mind is still human. He's going to break. This is going to hurt. Like, I was like, that. I feel like they recently addressed that in a different issue, that like, I'm going to keep on living and you're all going to die. And like, I have to deal. I feel like it's something they've been talking about more. It's something they've always talked about, but I feel like it's more recent.
It's something that's very recent that they've also addressed again.
Yeah. So like,
because it's definitely not the first time.
Right.
But there has absolutely been. I feel like even within just the last handful of months, I feel like
that's what I mean. Like definitely in like,
it might have even been in one of Gail's Uncanny books, I want to say.
It probably was, because yeah, we'll probably just have to go back and read the other 5 issues, which I'm sure we will do at some point.
I actually want to say it was when he hoofed it solo there for a minute.
Oh, at like the very beginning of 1 and 2.
Well, it was in the first couple of issues for sure. I'll have to go back and check.
Yeah,
but
I can't
wanna
remember
say
exactly.
I want to say that it's fairly recent.
Yeah. So, but like, to that point, I get it and I like it, and I think it's something that hasn't really been explored yet. I think you're right, though. I think what really worries me is like the execution, because she's just like, I'm saying you have PTSD. So like, I don't think they would ignore it. I feel like Gail wouldn't be the sort of writer to just ignore a big plot like this, or like
I feel like a lot of other writers might ignore it, though.
Jed McKay. Yeah, exactly. But I think she'll address it. My worry comes in, how are we going to address it?
Mm-hmm.
If are we going to have a spectacular Spider-Man style sit down therapy session for Logan where he has to talk to a doctor for 2 issues or something? Because maybe like, there's an interesting idea there, but I don't think it can hold for like, the idea of Logan going to a therapist sounds funny in my head, but I don't think it would really translate to entertainment.
No, I think that
like,
would
it's a good sketch.
I think that would be a matter of maybe once we get Charles back, because we know he's captured right now.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point either Charles or another one of the telepaths actually has a genuine sit down, and you'd have to do it like really, really well to not make it look like some cheesy movie or TV drama, like psych session. Like, don't reduce it to that, please. Like, please do not reduce it to that. But I feel like you could do that. You have characters attached to the X-Men that could make that work, that could make that organic, and you have those characters at your disposal. It would be even, hear me out on this.
I'm hearing you.
It'd be even funnier if the telepath that we get to do that is Emma.
My first suggestion was going to be, after Charles, it was going to be Emma. And
Emma herself also actually does have some trauma.
Well, that's what again, the one big credit I can give to Eve Ewing and that exceptional book is that it writes Emma really fucking well.
It's the only thing that she writes well in it.
Yes, no, 100%. But to that point, like, obviously you're a bigger Emma guy than I am. So, like, to me, that is...
I'm a bigger Emma guy than most, I think.
Yeah, okay, that's true. But, like, I read that issue where she kind of, like, talks about herself and recaps herself. You got into it last week where, like, she hasn't had the easiest life. Yes, she's all powerful. Yes, she's the White Queen, but, like, she kind of had, like, a calico like upbringing, you know, in her early years, and she had to pursue power because it was like live or die, like either get power or die. There's no in between for Emma. So I think with that level of compassion and understanding she would have normally, coupled with her like shut the hell up sort of attitude, like she doesn't take guff. She doesn't like if you say no, stop, she's gonna go, nah, we're gonna keep going. I'm sorry, like this is good for you. Like she doesn't. So I think like there would be an interesting issue there if you did something like Emma sits down with Logan and they delve into his psyche and because like that's what I guess I'm more concerned about are like the visuals of it, right? I want to see something.
Yeah, how are you gonna handle it?
Yeah, because I don't want them just sitting there, Tom King, Heroes in Crisis, back and forth style.
God.
I would want, and I also just don't think
I'm Tom King. I think I'm Alan Moore. Here's a 9-panel symmetrical grid. Piss off.
I'm going to keep doing it on every issue for every other page. Don't you love this? Isn't this so great? But, yeah, like as long as they avoid that, I just don't feel like Logan would be one to sit down and chat for like a therapy.
Oh, yeah,
like,
no, it'd be like pulling teeth.
It would be like he would be open to the idea. He's not somebody who's going to say like, "Oh, therapy's stupid," but he's going to have like a hard time like, "How do I talk about like myself? Like, what do you want me to like? This is weird." So yeah, having him go an alternative route with a psychic who can physically manifest and make him confront his demons or whatever, like that to me is
and that
how
kind
we
of
should do it.
That could loosen him up to actually start verbalizing it and vocalizing it to that telepath then.
And then if you want, you could do something where it's like, as sort of set dressing, we learn that Logan maybe regularly sees a military counselor or something. I would also, in that regard, I would want it to be a specific military like counselor because not to sound like an activist, but we needed our VA system in America sucks ass.
It's crap.
Like it's so bad. And so I feel like shine some light on that. Right? Like show how it helps, you know, our veterans, show what you can get out of it and use a character like Logan, but also, more to that point, right? Like if you were to try and get your average military guy to go to therapy, more often than not, they'd be resistant, but, and they wouldn't want to go and they'd be like, this is stupid. I don't get it. But I feel like if you show them somebody like Logan and connect with them on that level and go like, look guys, I do get it. Therapy does suck, right? Like instead of going, no, change your thinking. Therapy is great. Like you got to meet them on their level. You couldn't make a special issue of like Marvel addresses the VA health crisis and put like, I don't know, She-Hulk on it. Right? Like that, who's just like, yeah, therapy is great all the time, everybody. Let me give you, like, you can't have that because it's not real and nobody would buy it. But you have somebody like Logan who says, no, I'm not about it. I think we can work here. So, yeah, really, truly all about the actual execution of it all. Clone Geek says, shouldn't this be in Wolverine's actual title, though? Not necessarily. I think this is a good... You could put it there. Well, first of all, his book is so boring right now. Basically, the plot is that there's a new... better adamantium that's like sentient and it's taking over everybody that has adamantium. It's very dumb. Like even by like comic book standards, it's very, very stupid.
Yeah, that's not comic book dumb. That's just dumb.
Well, like I can see it being an 80s comic book dumb or like a 70s one because the metal itself is gold. So you have like regular adamantium that's silver, super adamantium that's gold. I can definitely see that being like on a cover, a Jack Kirby style cover, where it's
yeah.
like, oh, the gold adamantium versus the silver, and like, so like to me, that's super comic booky. But yeah, overall, the general idea of doing that, I'm just like, no, this is completely stupid. But more to your point, Clone Geek, yes, you could put it in there, but I also think that this is a good exploration of the team dynamic. Sort of like what Andrew was saying before, right? Rogue and Gambit are two of the people he is closest to, who know him best. So they're better able to, you know, recognize something is weird with him, be that other party to reach out to him. Because, like, imagine, like, let's play a hypothetical, Clone Geek and Andrew. Like, if we were reading a solo Wolverine book where he's fighting against a new adamantium threat, and all, like, it's sort of like everybody is rushing to get this adamantium, so he's got to fight all these different groups. If in the middle of that book, all of a sudden Logan, like, sat down for a second and went, I just realized I have PTSD. We would all go, what?
No, it'd be stupid.
Yeah, we would all go, what the hell are you talking about, Logan? Like, that's not something you would ever do. Why now? Well, like, to Andrew's point, why now? You've been through World War I, II, Korea, like, the freaking Krakoa War, whatever you want to, Civil War. And this is the time you finally realize it. Like, it wouldn't work. But having...
no, it makes it far more sense.
Yeah.
It makes far more sense to have somebody that's as close to him as Rogue. Because there are few people as close to him as Rogue.
Basically, I just realized this as soon as you said that last sentence. The Uncanny Team is basically the only X-Men that he's close to. Yeah. It's Gambit, it's Rogue, it's Nightcrawler, and it's Jubilee.
Yeah.
Maybe you would throw Charles in there if he was around, but he's not.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it makes sense for it to be somebody that close to him who has genuine compassion and love for him to be able to recognize that.
Right.
Right.
So
you're not going to just get it from Joe Blow.
No. You got to, and like, that's exactly it. Like, it's got to make sense. It's got to come from a source that it would come from, not one that we're just writing it to come from them. Right. So yeah, it all works, Clone Geek. I think there's a different discussion about whether we should be doing the PTSD story at all, which I don't think there's a right answer to that. I think there are pros to it and there are cons to it. Obviously, I think it really does rely on what Andrew said, which is we'll come back to it in like 2 or 3 issues and see how Gale has treated it. Because there are some interesting things you could do here, and there are some really awful things you could do here.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Really bad things you could do here.
And here's another thing. In introducing this element puts this book in a precarious position.
Yes.
Because I guarantee that if she does screw the pooch on this element, it will ultimately really end up painting this series for us.
No,
that will really put a big damper on this book.
Especially because it would have been like, not only did you sort of lull us into a false sense of security, right? Like, oh man, you did really good, Gale.
Yeah.
Somebody, if this book turns out bad, Clone, Punk, Subhuman, Trace, Phantom, Shinkai, Timon, anybody who watches us, you have full permission to go back through I want you to go back through our streams and clip every moment where Andrew and I are like, Gale, oh my God, like, this is so good. What are we doing? Like, clip all of it. You will probably get like 7 minutes of footage out of that. Like,
if not more.
Yeah. And you have my full right to do it, because it would feel like she tricked us. And then it would feel even more insulting if she fumbled it. If she fumbles this topic with this character.
Right.
That's going to feel insulting.
This
like,
is a character who is so many people's #1 character in comics.
He's
not mine, but he's so many people's, and I like Wolverine quite a lot.
I like him well
he's
enough.
Not my favorite X-Men, but he's not even in my top 5.
No, not even close. I like him well enough, and I will admit he's probably got one of the better superhero costumes of all time. Like, it just really,
he does
really
have some pretty sweet costumes, yeah.
But yeah, like, this is not only is this like it's so many people's favorite X-Men, favorite comic book character, favorite, fictional character in general. He is iconic. He is iconic in the manly sense as well. Like, he's a very masculine icon. So yeah, like, that's the thing is you can't, like, if she goes out and she does this story where Logan sits down and he talks about his feelings and he has this big weepy session about, like, I don't know, himself. You guys all sort of know what I mean. Like, there's one way we can do this where it's whiny and very self-serving for Gale to preach at us, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't do this. You need to always hold the guilt for this, but move on. Like, crap like that. That's going to be insulting because it's going to be, like I was talking about, oh, Gale, you're not really trying to address what it's like to be a combat veteran. You're just using that as a platform. You're going, yeah, let's talk about combat veterans so I can give you an unconscious bias lecture or something like that. Like, that will be, it would sink not just, like, Gale, but I think it would sink everything Brevoort and the X offices are trying to do out of Krakoa, right? Like, they don't, a lot of people in the X office do not like Krakoa. A lot of the fans didn't like Krakoa. I mean, you and I are among them, especially after... Once Hickman left, again, Hickman, I love him to death. His entire purpose with Krakoa was like, this is what happens when making like an ethno-state, like this is bad. This is why you shouldn't do it. And then as soon as he left, everybody went, yay, my babies, my oppressed babies. This is awesome.
Right.
Yes.
Now we get to be the oppressors.
Yeah,
and actually
exactly.
Celebrating that. And it's like, y'all think these are supposed to be heroes. You think that this makes them the good guys?
This works.
Wow.
So like
that says a lot more about you.
100%. And so with everybody trying to get out of that, like I feel like if you torpedo Logan in what is arguably your best X book, everything else is going to drop.
Yeah.
Like nobody's going to want to read X-Force, X-Men, Wolverine. I mean, they'll probably still read Revenge because that's an out of canon thing and it's just damn good. But yeah, right now we're on like a very precarious spot with Wolverine. Let's hope they pull it off, or let's hope Gale pulls it off. But I'm back to my.
Just looking at that shoe hanging up there.
Yep.
When is it gonna drop? Right.
I thought the shoe was gone, but it's still there.
Yeah. Not willing to throw it out, but it's
But I'm looking.
I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm concerned.
Or at least I should say, maybe more accurately, I'm cautiously apprehensive.
I'm going out and I'm taking a photo of the shoe because I see that it's precarious, but I'm not necessarily running out for it yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like I've taken the photo, but I'm not running out to like make a Facebook post about it or tell everybody and be like, look. But it's more like, if it happens, I want proof that I was like, I was aware of it. This is just a crazy comment to me. So Clone Geek says, you need to get in a conversation with Comic Perch over X-Men and the current X books because the only one he is liking is X-Force. Now,
Perch usually has really good commentary and is on the mark. Clearly, there's something that is not jiving with him in all the other current X books. But for X-Force to be the only one he's liking, that's wild to me. Unless he's just a massive Forge fan.
It's not like I've still kept
nothing happens in
nothing's happening in this book. It's really boring, and it's just. I mean, they killed off Surge last issue, so I'm already pissed off about that. But that's a personal thing. So, but yeah, like like we both love Perch. He normally has great takes. That's really interesting. If you would ever do us the grace of talking with us, I think that would be fun. But yeah, I think for now it's sort of like a.
That would probably end up being like a 4-hour stream.
Oh, dude, we could do like
all
a
of us just talking
one.
comics.
We could divide that up into like old comics, new comics, comic book media, like comic book theories, and we could just go forever. But more back to Gale's wild ride. So the kids, the outliers, they go to school. They they get taken in by the principal. Really cool little moment that I liked here where the principal flashes. They have this new hand sign post Krakoa for mutants. We've seen it a couple times. The Midnight M, where if you flash it, people know you're a mutant, and if you need help, or they can give you help, yada yada. So I really like. Again, I'm tired of the "we hate all mutants, you're all oppressed" thing. So seeing more people just being on their side as it's like natural, I like that, and it just means that we're going to avoid a very tired route of high school drama.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the classic like curmudgeon principal, like or like the Animal House Dean. That's what I wouldn't want. Animal House Dean for mutants, but it seems like he's going to be on their side for once.
Yeah.
But then so we get more of the bullying. The kids used their powers to sort of, or not even use their power. Well, the kid who like controls the death specters, he uses his powers to scare the bullies. Then they go to like beat him up. The black kid, who I'm not even sure exactly what his powers are yet. He's the one who like
super strong.
He's super strong and he can like survive things. That's we don't know what though.
Some crazy like survivability.
But yeah,
from stuff that should kill you
for very, very fatal things. So he boxes them up, you know, kind of kicks their ass a little bit, tells them to leave him alone. In the meantime, unfortunately, the Graymalkin folks capture Calico, and that is where it rolls us into the first issue of the Raid on Graymalkin crossover. So,
which doesn't have nearly as much worth talking about as Uncanny.
It really doesn't. Like, we just talked for almost like an hour, or we just talked for 30 minutes about a filler issue of X-Men that basically centers around kids going to school.
Yeah.
Like, and in this issue, which is supposed to be the first of a crossover, their big one, there's just nothing here, guys. Jed Mid-K strikes again. Like, I'm not even surprised.
So, no, we shouldn't be surprised.
I mean, after what we've read from this run, from his Avengers run, from everything, there's just nothing great coming out of Jed. He's he's your company man, right? Like, if you need a job done, he'll do it. You might not get the best job, but it'll get done to a level that you can put it out in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like a good 6 or 7 if you have to. But unfortunately, that when you're comboing your 6 or 7 writing with Gail Simone, who's writing at like a 10, it gets very, very apparent that this is not that enjoyable. So, if you guys remember, the last Uncanny X-Men arc ends with Rogue dropping Sarah off at the Graymalkin prison, telling the warden, you know, you have it now, but we're coming back for it. So keep the place like in order. And it was like this really cool like threat moment. Both Andrew and I were like, yeah, let's do this. And so that's sort of how the Uncanny X-Men get there. The X-Men themselves, as we see here, they get into the situation because Beast has been captured by the Graymalkin warden. That happened at the end of, I think, the last X-Men issue. If you guys remember,
what was it, 7?
7, I think, where he goes to meet somebody at like a diner and then he gets beat up outside of it and captured, and everybody goes, where'd you go? So he's at Graymalkin now, and so then Cyclops learns about it, informs the rest of the core X-Men team that we're going to the prison and we are like, we're going in to break it. And Psylocke says, like, are we going to break in? And he's like, no, like, we're tearing this down. And so,
which I kind of actually liked that moment out of Scott. This was like what the third moment out of Jed Mid-K when it comes to Scott that I've liked. The first of which being that scene in the diner I always talk about when he's chatting with that officer and he's telling him what's what, and he basically puts it on the table. And I was like, oh, okay. And then there was the moment in last issue was it last issue or the issue before? It was him chatting with Magneto.
I think last.
Yeah, we'll say that it was last. We'll say
one of the most
last
recent
issue.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, where that interaction with Scott and Magneto was actually very good, contrasted against the rest of the issue. And then this moment here where he's like, no, we're going to break this stuff down. And I'm like,
I like that sentiment. My problem is there's no good justification for it, right? Like, because he's angry. Like, that's sort of what he says. Like, Psylocke goes like, whoa, Scott, hold up. Like, you're angry. You're going to make a mistake. And Scott just doubles down on, like, he was like Hank's my brother. We're going to get him no matter what. And I'm like, I get the sentiment. We've all been here before. And I like the idea of, like, we're going to tear this down instead of saving it. But what makes this instance of we've got to save, like, one of the X-Men so different that you're willing to destroy everything to get, like, and like, this is Scott, right? He's not supposed to be this emotional. If Psylocke goes slow down, you're going to make a mistake. He should, you know, at the very least be like, maybe, like, consider it. But, or like, or say something like, I've considered these options. Right. Something instead of just like, no, we're doing this. So that the setup to it felt weird, but I'm not necessarily against the result if that's the best term we can use for it, right? Like, I like the idea of let's go tear it down. So then we get an interlude at the actual prison where we see Hank is in prison with Calico, with Jubilee. We get some pretty brutal prisoner treatment here. We see, you know, the warden obviously being a dick warden, as we would expect, treating all the mutants as less than human, less than mutant, whatever term you want to use.
She acts like even more of a jerk in this issue than she has in issues past too.
She
like
really
pretty
has.
Savagely. It's a huge contrast to how she was in that prior issue.
Which makes me wonder, is that supposed to be her character, or is there no communication happening between Jed and Gale? Because Gale is the one who normally treats... She's the one who's used the warden the most so far. And that's where we see the warden being more cold, but also like, okay, I'll give you the heads up if I have to. Right? So this is the first time we see her with Mid-K, and the fact that she is so over the top makes me wonder, like, maybe he didn't get the memo. Maybe this is just one of those situations. Because
he just read the Spark notes. He didn't actually read the issues.
Yeah, he got the general idea of what they're aiming for and decided to roll with it. But essentially, we get this moment where, because Calico is so rich, like her family is so connected, she actually has the potential to be pardoned by the Warden of Graymalkin. All she has to do is sign a paper saying that she is not a mutant, and this is why I brought up that scene earlier where she is so happy about being a mutant and uncanny, because in years past, we probably would have seen more stories would have had them sign it and gone, what else was I supposed to do? And then everybody would have gone like, yeah, we get it. You needed to get out of that prison. They weren't going to let you out. You probably wouldn't have lived if you didn't sign it. But here, like, she gets the offer, and Becca, or Calico, her name's Becca, but Calico, she's like, no, I'm a mutant. Like, I'm staying with the mutant. I am a mutant. You can't take me away. And it's a pretty damn good scene. Like, I don't know. I really like this moment. And then it gets really brutal where the warden tells the guards to beat the hell out of Calico, and instead Hank steps up to sort of take the beating for her. And I do like the fact that you rarely see this, or like, people forget that Hank is like physically strong in a brawl. Like, that's his mutation. It's not his brains, because like this moment here where he's like,
actually just a genius.
Yeah, right. Like, naturally he would have been smart no matter what, even if he didn't mutate. But I love this moment where the guards start beating him, and he just does it's generic, but like the tough guy, like, that all you got? Like, why not pick on a guy your own size? I was like, all right, that's pretty, like, I don't know. There was something cool about that. And it doesn't turn into a fight. He actually just takes it. Like,
the whole time.
Oh, like
it does eventually get the crap kicked out of him.
Well, I mean, like, right
at
here,
least from what we see.
Like, crack. Like, these feel like, kudos to Stegman. Like, that middle panel feels particularly brutal about like getting slugged with a nightstick. But and so this is sort of where, at least for me, the issue starts going a little bit off the rails. So we get
because there's like, the pacing is just non-existent.
Right. So off of that, guys, right, we get we get Beast is in prison. That's a reveal. We get Scott saying we got to go save him. We get the prison scene, and then all of a sudden we're here, and the X-Men are here, and they're raiding, and they're all on the attack, and it is just full-blown war on the Graymalkin prison right off the bat. Like, you're right. Like, the pacing is so bad, and this panel to me is representative of how bad it is, because they're just like, we're under attack. They teleported in a warship, and it's like, couldn't we have done something with that?
Couldn't we have like shown that? Like, it was all when writers do this in comics, it's the most baffling thing imaginable to me. How do you tell and not show in a visual medium?
I know. Like,
this is a visual medium.
The ones that always make me mad is when they do the movie thing, where it's like, you know, like Wolverine would walk into a room, crack his knuckles, and then you cut and you see him like meeting back up with like Scott and Jean, and maybe he's like bloody, and they go like, what happened? And he's like, you should see the other guy. It's like, can we see the other guy? Can we see what happened?
We didn't get to see the other guy. I want to see the
that.
other guy's ass.
Right. Like, I want to see him get shredded, and you're just going, nah. So, and I don't know why this concept of like the X-Men having this whale, like, alien spaceship
I'm sorry, it looks dumb. I'm not here for it.
No,
Not
that's
for
what
the
I'm saying.
X-Men.
It looks dumb and it doesn't make sense. Like maybe if this was some arc where you guys were up in Shi'ar space and Forge was like, I made a ship and here we go. I wouldn't like the design, but it would still make having a warship make more sense. But this is out of nowhere. Like they've never said anything about this. They haven't said we've got a bunch of equipment. For all that they've been presenting us, the X-Men in Alaska are like downtrodden, or maybe not downtrodden, but they're like struggling. They don't have the resources. They're on their own. So all of a sudden you have giant intergalactic flying warship that Magic can easily teleport for some reason when she normally can't.
Yeah, I didn't buy that for 1 second.
So like, yeah, this is the moment where it goes from like, I don't want to say like grounded, but like a more believable story to just like wacky random.
Yeah.
Like, so then, yeah, we get Scott sort of, given the orders, and then oh yeah, this is what you were talking about, because Hank eventually is like on the ground and the warden's like, okay, let's go deal with this, invasion. And the guard's like, what do you want me to do, Warden? Put him back in their cells? And she's like, did I tell you to stop beating him? And then you get that back panel where it's just all cracks. Just crack, like across
Yeah, that
his
was
face.
like, oh, geez. What the hell,
I was
lady?
like, oh, damn. Like, all right, sure. So
apparently somebody told her to calm down.
Somebody, yeah. But then we get just, kind of a basic invasion into the X Mansion. Nothing we really haven't seen before.
The pacing made it feel like a montage.
It did.
Rather
It
than
did
actually
feel like
get
a
to
montage.
see the sequence play out.
Well, because that's what happened here, right? We get one shot of the X-Men showing up in the ship, one shot of Magic's limbo like reinforcements coming out of the ground. Then we get this one panel of Scott and them teleporting in, and then you get this what is essentially a montage of like Quentin, he's flying the plane, the demons are fighting, Juggernaut's ready, and then they just sort of like they just go. Everything just goes from there. There's no sort of sense of linearity.
Like apparently a bunch of stuff happened, but we don't get to see any of it.
Right. And like, again, it's the mid-K showing not, or telling not showing. So we get some decent art out of Ryan Stegman. I was pretty happy because I felt like the last couple issues
panels
he did were kind of weak. Like his art was getting a little weird. But this is classic Stegman, looking great. I really like how he does this for Scott though. The like
with
trail.
the energy trail, yeah.
Yeah, I always really like
looks
how
pretty
he does
cool.
that. Yeah, he's
It's
pretty
very anime, honestly.
Oh, 100%. That's probably why I like it.
very
But I'm like,
anime.
it works for Scott. I very much like it. So then we get Blob, as we saw in Uncanny. He rushes in on behalf of the Graymalkin prison to take out Cyclops. Right before he gets taken out by Rogue, who has shown up with the Outliers and Wolverine, likely, tracking down Calico and Jubilee. And that's where we sort of leave off.
Yeah.
Again, like Andrew said, not a lot happens to sort of write home about in this issue.
It just like flies by, and not as in it was like a really fast-paced, good read, and time just flew. No, it was just like the pacing was very bad. Like calling it a montage issue is the best description I can find in my head for it, because it felt like it wasn't allowing any of the sequences or any of the events to actually breathe.
No. The one that breathed the most was probably the prison one.
Yeah.
And that was the most
That was the
interesting
only
one.
thing.
And then we get to this raid that isn't even. Here's what bugs me is that they set up this raid as like this is the event, right? That's what Marvel's been saying. Like, we're finally crossing over the X-Men. Rogue, Cyclops at each other's throats. They're going to take each other down. Like, this is going to be the big clash. And it doesn't seem like where's the struggle here? Where's the trouble? They got in super easy. They defeated everybody super easy. Why didn't you? I don't know. It doesn't feel like there are stakes here. It doesn't, at least in this issue, it doesn't feel exciting. When I read it, all the stuff from Uncanny, all that setup, I get really intrigued. Like, what are they doing there? What is the Warden's plan? What have they got? But here, it just feels like it's it's the same thing we've seen before, right? Like the X-Men's house is taken over by an enemy group and they're coming to take it back. It's the scene from X2 just all over again. The one where like the not Shield, Weapon X, like when their soldiers storm the mansion and Wolverine has to like take them all out. It very much feels like that. And it's like Andrew says, we've been here before. We've seen this before. We've seen this set up so much that in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which is sort of like a mishmash of Marvel history, there is a level where you run from Juggernaut in the mansion because like you run through the halls of the mansion while he's taking it apart because it's such a common thing. So it's like, it's boring. The warship thing, I really like, I'm so hung up on that because I really feel like that more than anything defeats the gravity of it. There are no stakes when you have,
this goofy looking ship.
This goofy looking ship that you guys easily teleported into their airspace with no resistance. Nobody took you out. Like, so you've got, why am I afraid? Like, I know you're going to win at this point. You didn't try to sneak in. There's no disadvantage. Everybody is on. You have your entire team here. Everybody's on the same side. Exactly. Like, I guess I'm caring because, I want to see Jubilee and Calico, and to a lesser extent, Hank out of jail, but this is not exciting. This doesn't do anything. I don't know. I'm very let down by this first entry into the crossover.
Yeah. And now remind me, is this event taking place primarily in the main X-Men book? Or is it going to be back and forth? Back and forth.
It's one issue here, one issue Uncanny, one issue here, one issue Uncanny. So the next entry, which I don't know what the publishing schedule is. I don't know if they're changing it for the event. But yeah, the next thing we'll get is another Gale issue where it'll be her turn to shine.
Well, hopefully she writes it like she gives a damn.
I mean, I definitely have hope. But yeah, this is just another hyper generic 6 out of 10 story from Jed.
Congratulations, Jed. You wrote a comic book.
Right, exactly. Like, cool. C for the day. Or what is it that they always used to write on the report cards? Like, could use effort or could see like improvement or whatever.
Right.
Like
could use improvement.
Yeah, could use improvement. That's what I would write on this entire run so far. There's just, and even like the characters I want to see utilized, like Magic or Juggernaut. He's not doing anything.
They only
with
get
them.
a couple of moments.
Right, like
here and there.
Magic gets this teleport in moment, and she gets the moment of teleporting in the ship, but Juggernaut is just like, and Juggernaut is in place.
Standing there.
He's in place for his attack run. Cool. Can I see that?
Could I see the attack run?
I would really like to see that more than anything right now, Scott. Like, please. And I laughed, or I made this observation on this page because I brought it up before, but like, Heidi is here. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like
nobody cares. She's just there.
And it's not even like Heidi's a bad character necessarily. It's just that she is just a non-character. There's nothing to her, and everybody keeps trying to make her a thing, and nobody's landed on it.
Well, I feel like a lot of the reason of why they split up the main X-Men books into a line of 3 is because they really wanted to put a few, like, basically nobodies in the mix with characters people actually give a crap about.
Yeah, that's why you've got Jubilee on Uncanny. That's why you've got Heidi here.
Well, okay, so like I like to give you crap, but like there are Jubilee fans, right?
There are, but I'm also being realistic. Yeah, there. It's not a comparison.
Like comparing the number of ED fans to the number of Jubilee fans is like comparing the number of Jubilee fans to the number of Kitty Pryde fans.
Yeah, no, that's actually pretty accurate. That I can get behind that.
So she really has no business here because nobody actually cares. She hasn't even done anything worth giving a crap about besides like saying, "Oh, well, we're going to go save this little girl." Right?
Which is like that is really about
it. Which amounted to nothing.
It didn't amount to anything. And that's sort of what I was going to get at is her entire character is sort of, I think one of the best ways we could describe it is she is essentially the embodiment of Marvel's continued like obsession with the mutants are bad and troubled and don't know their place in life plotline, right? Because she is that is her character, is even more so than I don't know my place as a mutant in this earth. I don't know my place at all. Yeah.
So make a character's entire personality and existence just regurgitation of an already regurgitated and overplayed idea.
And that's why I think she doesn't catch on, because
nobody cares.
Because everybody's been here, we've all seen it, and we've seen it done far more interesting with other characters where it wasn't their entire personality.
Right. It's like you were the embodiment of the X-Force book in a or X Factor book.
Yeah.
Like just in a character. Great. I don't care. I didn't care about that book. I definitely don't care about you.
I also think the reason nobody can make ID work is because I feel like there's got to be this weird stigma where it's like, if I go in and I try to move this character forward from the trauma that defined her, our progressive base is going to lose their minds. So we can't disrespect the character like that. But you're actually disrespecting the character by leaving her in that trauma. Why wouldn't you want to help somebody, right? You don't just, if your friend is going through something horrible, you don't just like sit there and sympathize with them and let them continue to be in this horrible spot for the rest of their life. You try to help raise them out of it. You try to help raise them out of it, whether that's like talking to them or encouraging them. And like to that exact point, Andrew, it's like in a meta sense, you're doing a disservice to the character, because if you want her to be popular, if you want this to be a cool character, you've got to do something that makes it work with the audience. And you're not doing any of that. It's just, she's just a bad character. I have no affinity for her. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of her design with the hair. I'm not a fan of the hair. I was actually about to say I kind of like her suit. The suit I'm okay with. That's about it. But putting it up through the hair, do something different with the hair. Like, I feel like her with kind of like one of those larger, like braided / dreaded ponytail things would look way more badass. And maybe then utilize that coloring in the different braids and dreads. Ooh, that would be cool. That would make more sense. I like that. Then if you want to do the hair thing, that could work. I think that would actually look really cool. But just having a single stripe of this whatever colored energy, because she's got ice and fire, and fire, like it looks dumb with the hair. Like if you fix the hair, you fix the whole design. I also feel like her hair because when she was first introduced, her hair was more, it looked like an actual afro hairstyle. Now it sort of just looks like she got out of bed and it's still nappy and she didn't do anything to it. Yeah, and I'm like, afro bedhead. Right. And to me, it feels like they're trying to play off of the thing you love so much with Storm, where like with her big goddess hair, her big poofy goddess, Yeah, but you ain't Aurora. You ain't Aurora. Exactly. Like not even close. That works with Aurora because she is a damn goddess. Like that she gets to do that because Aurora with the goddess hair, and man, they've been doing the goddess hair justice in the Storm book. Like you don't give that to just anybody. I'm sorry. Like especially if you're just gonna like, one, it should be earned. Two, like you're not even half-assing it. You're like eighth-assing it here. If that, yeah. it just looks dumb. Stop it. Fix the hair. Fix the hair. Give her I don't know. You can revamp her. She has a big revamp like potential. I genuinely believe that, but as she is, no doing. There's just nothing going on here. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about X-Men, about Raid on Graymalkin. You got anything you wanted to point out? You wanted to add? We probably said more than there was actually to say about the book. To be honest, like this book it's kind of a nothing. It really is. Unfortunately, for something that's supposed to be the kickoff to this cross-book event, something that you're calling the Raid on Graymalkin, which is a cool name for an event. It really is. Like, well, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think, again, it just goes back to what I'm just going to repeat myself again. It's like a raid makes it sound like there's going to be difficulty and you're rushing and it's like this big thing. You guys popped in with a warship. I have no sympathy for you. Like, easy for you. The fact that Beast isn't out of Graymalkin by the end of this issue is bad writing. because you have
Yeah, exactly.
everything available to you.
There's
to
not
save
a
them.
good reason for him to still be lying there on the ground.
There absolutely isn't. So that is Jed McKay's Mid-K's latest. But before we move into another book that we can discuss together, I want to bring up something to just sort of reinforce how awful Jed's writing is right now. So we this week we also got a new issue of his Avengers run, right? And there's not a lot to talk about here. There's only one specific thing, so it's going to be really quick. But if you guys know, or if anybody caught like the solicits and the interviews and stuff that have been going on the last couple months, you'll know that this issue was, as you can see at the top there, being advertised and promoted as Avengers versus X-Men Round 2. Yes, a lot of us went, oh my God, why are we fucking doing this again? Are you kidding me?
The 16th time.
Right, but that's what they set it up as. And to that point, when we got all these previews, so previews are normally about 3, 4, 5 pages.
Mm-hmm.
The first 3 or 4 or 5 pages of this book, the first 3 make it seem like they're about to fight. The Avengers land in Alaska. The X-Men are waiting for them. Carol yells out, get over here. They both have this sort of like aggressive dialogue,
Where is this supposed to take place in relation to the X-Men book?
Like timeline wise?
Yeah.
I think this happens right before the raid. I think this happens like, in that moment when Beast is getting like right before Beast gets captured, because he's in this book. So I think it's right before that. So you see this like, it's over. Like my time, I'm not hiding anymore. Carol's like, oh yeah, is that so? And you get this like, we're right here. They're powering up, and then it turns out like, oh, haha, we're just kidding. We're actually here to be friends. We're here for an Avengers X-Men baseball game. And I'm just like, go fuck yourself. Like, how dare you?
That's serious?
That is all that happens in this book. Is they have a baseball game. The Avengers talk to the X-Men. They give some advice. And then at the very end, Carol's like, can we count on the X-Men if we need help? And he goes, okay. And that's the end of the issue. Like, this issue sucks. Like, it is Jed McKay. That's what I'm talking about. There's nothing good here. Nothing really happens. And it's just, I don't know why this book exists. But yeah, like the bait and switching. That is what really gets me. I don't care if you're going to have a bad, yes, we've seen Avengers versus X-Men 6,000 times. But if that's what you're advertising, don't do this shit. Don't do this cheeky,
Don't
like,
use it as a marketing
hey,
ploy.
get it? Oh, I got you guys. Like, shut up, Jed. And then, for the most, this is a running trend with this Avengers book. Nothing happens. Like, they have, like, a meeting, and maybe, like, one character says, like, oh, should we, like, recruit Storm? Or should we maybe, like, think about the blood hunt? And they go, yeah, that's a good idea. And then they, like, hang out for a second, and the issue ends with them, like, reaffirming their friendship. It's just, wow. I hate it. It's not fun. It's not a good Avengers
Why are you
book.
even still reading this? Stop.
Stop
doing that to yourself.
I
am
only
your
do
friend.
it. I only do it because it's Jed Mid-K, and I need to, like, I want to keep getting evidence so that I can show you guys, like, how bad the guy's writing is.
We have evidence. I've been reading X-Men since issue 1.
But this is non-mutants. this is an entire other like editorial office that he's invading now. But no, I really do just read this book because I'm like, okay, what did he do this time? Like, how bad is it going to be this time? I'd never go into this thinking I'm going to have a good time. But
the art's really good.
The art's pretty fun. I'm not against the art. Like, it's just,
man, go back to that.
Yeah, that
Look at
Aurora one.
And look, perfect contrast. Look.
I know. And they actually, you know what? I will give Mid-K some credit here. This discussion, this interaction between the two is sort of what we were talking about. Heidi comes up to her and she's like, Storm, I don't fit in anywhere. I don't know what to do. Like, please teach me. And then, Storm talks to her and gives her some sort of platitudes, which is unfortunate. But at least somebody's acknowledging that Heidi doesn't really have a character.
Yeah.
So, like that's one thing that I was like, that's pretty cool. And then a fun thing I liked, which, again, Jed always has, one broken clock moment in an issue, it seems like. But while they're playing the baseball game, they're tied up. And Juggernaut's like, okay, never mind, my turn to pitch. And everybody's like, you can't pitch. Like, we have one ball left. Do not pitch that ball. You will destroy it. And he goes, eh. And so he whips up the Juggernaut supersonic speedball, and he rocks it out, and it just like whips past Tony, rushes right into the base, and just like explodes. And everybody goes like, well, that was our ball. Like, it's a tie. And Magic's like, what the heck, dummy? Like, thanks a lot. Like, we lost. It's a tie. And Juggernaut has this moment where he's like, a tie? Maybe for you and the Avengers, but I wanted dinner. And now we're going to get dinner. So I won. And I'm like, all right. Like, I love Juggernaut. Right. He's fun. Like, he's just like a big kid.
He and Magic, I want more of their dynamic and interactions, because they actually have kind of a fun dynamic.
They really, really do. And I think we only really got it in like those first 2 issues of X-Men when like the team was new. And yeah, I want to see more of them. I also realized we're on issue like 8 of X-Men. It's been like 6 issues since we've seen anything about that chess match that Magic's playing. The one thing where I was like, I'm interested in this.
She's playing a game with
presumably Colossus.
With Colossus, yeah.
But they've never brought it up again. So I'm like, oh no, did they forget? But
Maybe.
then I also want to point this out to you, because this is one of those things where I was like I was reading the book, and it just felt so out of place that it bugged me. It like took me out of it, which is, so in the scene, everybody's back inside. They're all having dinner. Everybody's assembled.
Are they actually in the base there?
Yeah, they're in the factory. It says it at the top, which is what they call it, I guess, the factory. But so they're in the living quarters. They're all having dinner. It's all sort of nice. Everybody is either in their costumes, or if you're like Magneto or Tony, you're in semi-formal wear. But if you'll notice, coming down the stairs there is Psylocke, having just taken a shower. And then she like you can see where she's talking to Quentin here. She just goes and sits down at the table in her like robe, like after having just taken a shower, which like, I'm not against that. If Psylocke wants to come sit next to me after taking a shower, sure.
Right.
But like, imagine if we were
it just seems out of place there.
Right. Like, imagine if you and I were sitting here, like, yeah, it's not a prude thing. It's just like
it's not a prude thing. It's not a like anti-fan service thing, because
no,
Lord knows I
don't
mind that at all. But like, it still needs to make some level of sense. Like here, it doesn't make any sense at all.
No, it's like, imagine if you and I were sitting there, and all of a sudden, like, all of our friends are Trace and Dylan and Mary and Caro and everybody, like, we're all just in our clothes hanging out, and all of a sudden, like, Margot Robbie comes down the stairs in a robe and just sits down and starts hanging out. No undergarments, no nothing. Like, it would just be weird.
Yeah.
Like, it just weird. Like, there's no other way around. Just like, what the hell are you doing? This is not the time for you to be like this.
Yeah.
So
I can't believe it. I'm actually saying this. I would actually suggest putting on some clothes.
Right. I know. I can't believe we're saying it, but
you're making it weird.
You are making it weird. That is the best way to put it. Right. Exactly. You are making it weird. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to bring up with this issue, because there was, again, mid-K is being mid-K, but cool Juggernaut moment, and just a weird Psylocke moment that I needed validation on that, because I spent like 20 minutes last night being like, am I being weird? No, it's the children who are wrong. All right. So
next,
that is Avengers. Let's see. What do we want to hit next? Maybe you want to stay in Marvel, I'm presuming. I think we have about 2 Marvel books to knock out. Yeah, we have All-New Iban. So let's hit All-New Iban. Yes, everyone. After, as you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, we closed out the Venom War event with the event itself closed out pretty well. Every other book really didn't, except Venom Horse. I have to, like, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, because it's sort of, if I told you the joke, that would be the joke, and you would not really appreciate it. But in the back of each Venom War
issue, it would
issue,
be self-cannibalizing.
Yes, it would, wouldn't it? It would cannibalize the entire idea. But in the back, in the last page of each Venom War issue, there is a little backup that is a 1-page comic about Venom Horse, and it's really funny, and you guys should check it out. again, like, just go read it. It's really fast. But Andrew and I were laughing because if you guys remember, one of our big complaints was like, Venom or Deadpool, Venom or Wolverine, Venom or whatever, everything but Spider-Man and Venomous has not tied into this event at all. But Venom Horse did. Venom Horse actually ties into like the core event. And Andrew and I were just like, are you serious, guys? Like, Marvel. Ewing could get Venom Horse to tie in, but you couldn't have Deadpool like show up at Madison Square Garden or something. Like, what are we doing here? So, as you guys might remember, at the end of Venom War, long story short, the Venom symbiote got goldenized by Loki magic from future Old Man Dylan. Again, just go read the story. I'm not going to recap a current day modern comic book event storyline. Are you kidding me? We don't have time for that. But essentially, at the end of that event, Venom turned gold after defeating Meridius and his army. It sort of ate away at the symbiote, and the Venom symbiote left Eddie and Dylan and sort of went out on its own. And it flew out of a window, and that was the last we saw of it in the event. So we open up here where Madame Mask is on trial for the gang war that happened in the Amazing Spider-Man book. Zeb Wells event, absolutely just not good. Again, you and I have talked about this before, but just to remind everybody, in a world where you have people like the Avengers or Thor or Spider-Man and all 700 of his amazing friends or family, whatever you want to call them, things like vampires or mobsters or like petty criminals, these aren't threats, or they're not event threats, right? So when you go, there's a big gang war happening in New York, literally where everybody
New
is.
York, like, so where all of the superheroes are.
Right. That'd be like if somebody was like,
Even
oh man,
Thor has a summer home. Like, what are you talking about?
Dude, Storm's got her big, like, giant floating saucer right now. If we're going by canon, like, she's around to help out. It would be like, oh man, Andrew, somebody's doing a drug deal. We got to get help. And you'd be like, Spencer, we're literally standing in the middle of a police station. Like, they're going to get it. They're on it already. You're good.
It's fine.
So basically, the long short of it is Madame Mask is on trial for her role in the gang war. You know, they bring in a member of AIM who was under her employ during the gang war to testify against her. During his testimony, the AIM's true leader breaks in and he, comes to rescue his guy. In the, they invade the courtroom. It's all chaos. Everybody's trying to fight back. Luke Cage is there. He tries to help, gets thrown out of a window. And amidst all the chaos, the new Venom shows up. And Venom kind of does his thing. This is very much I don't know if you felt this way, but it feels very much a more Spidey influenced Venom as opposed to like Venom. Like I wouldn't say he's quipping so much as he's like smack talking, right? Like, so he's smack talking more.
He's talking that noise.
Yeah, he's talking that noise, and he's a little more agile, which is where that's more where I got the Spider-Man from it, of it. He's like jumping around, and normally Venom just like bowls through everybody. So Venom comes in. To be fair,
he can.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. If you can, shake what your mama gave you, if you will, to borrow a turn of phrase. But so Venom fights the AIM guys, beats them, sends them packing, and eventually takes off. And that is sort of the main Dylan of it, or the Dylan of it all, the main Venom of it all. What you see here is, I kind of skipped over this at the beginning, but in attendance at the trial are Luke Cage, Robbie Robertson, whose son was involved in the gang war tangentially because he was dating Beetle, and so he just wants to see justice for his son. And then Rick Jones, who I'm happy to see him. I don't know why. I feel like we don't get to see Rick anymore, and he's kind of that dumb, fun, stupid character that I can get behind.
Well, here's how often it's funny that you say that we kind of never get to see him anymore. This is how true that rings, because he walks in. And it took me a second to realize that's not Peter.
That's oh, wow. Yeah, no, I can see that.
Right. I thought they were just having Peter walk in with a Marvel Comics t-shirt. And then I'm like, wait, oh, nope.
I didn't get Peter at first because, well, I see that. I 100% see that. And like, I totally get why you saw that. I, funnily enough, got Ghost Rider out of it. I thought this was like Danny or yeah, probably Danny over Johnny because of the jacket.
Mhm.
The jacket and then the like 90s Marvel Comics logo. I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell's Ghost Rider? Like, did I miss a Ghost Rider comic? And I'm like, oh no, it's Rick. All right, cool. But the reason those three are sort of getting so much focus in this book is because that is the mystery of this series so far, is who is wielding the Venom symbiote.
Yeah.
It's not Venom, or it's not Eddie, it's not Dylan, it's not Cletus, it's not Peter, so nobody really knows who is inside of it.
And we do know that at least for a little while, Eddie will not be having the Venom symbiote.
Because Eddie is going to go be Carnage. And
yes,
we'll see how that, guys.
We'll see. The setup actually worked really well.
That's
so
what I was going to get
see that they at least made us a little more optimistic than we were initially leading into it.
Yep.
However, I'm not entirely unconvinced that we won't still ultimately get Dylan back with the Venom symbiote here.
I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. I feel like they put too much emphasis on Dylan in that last event to just get rid of him, especially with the old man Dylan stuff. That like you don't just kind of
I think
wipe that away.
I think the Venom symbiote is going to be potentially bonded to one of these other four characters for a brief period. When I say brief, I'm saying we're wrapping this mystery up in this first arc.
Oh yeah, we have to.
And then by the end of it, if not prior, Dylan's going to end up back with the Venom symbiote.
Dylan has to end up with it, unless so obviously I think you and I are coming to that conclusion based off of just general comic book knowledge of how these things play out, but also I think in a way that maybe we don't have the words for immediately, you and I kind of got that vibe from the writing of what's been going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's what I was touching upon. Like Dylan's gotten a lot of emphasis, not to the point where they're, going out and they're advertising Dylan on backpacks and making toys of him and saying, this is your Venom, but very clearly he's had a big role to play. He's important. They focus on him. So I definitely think that is going to happen unless they do something really crazy, which sometimes comic book publishers do, not always, but sometimes, and they do commit to giving the symbiote to somebody else. I think it might work. The problem is the four suspects we have per Marvel, I'm not interested in any of these four.
I'm not interested in any of them being Venom. Like I like Luke Cage. I like Robbie Robertson. I like Rick Jones fine. I don't really care about Madam Mask.
I don't either
at all.
I think to me that one feels like the most red herring because of her mask.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel like they're going like, she wears gold.
Hey,
he
look
wears
over
gold.
here. Yeah, exactly.
Right,
yeah. No, it totally feels like be distracted by this thing. Yeah.
Right.
No,
yep. But yeah, like so the setup to this, guys, is during the carnage, if you will, when Venom is saving the courtroom. All four of the suspects that we just mentioned mysteriously find their way out of the courtroom while Venom is there. So when Venom shows up, they notice that Madam Mask has dug like a tunnel out of her holding cell and is gone. We saw Luke, he gets thrown out of a window, so he's not in the building when Venom shows up. Rick and Robbie, they run off to, get help, or at least that's what they say.
But they run off in different directions.
Right. And so what they all realize is
no one can corroborate anyone else's alibi.
Yeah. Which I actually kind of liked that. I like Robbie as a character, but I like him more when he takes no guff. Right? Yeah. Or maybe it's not take no guff, but he's a straight shooter. He sees through everything. Like one of my favorite moments that I've been sharing with you is that, and I'm pretty sure it's one of yours too, Spider-Man 2. When Peter goes into
Spider-Man was there.
Yeah, I heard Spider-Man was there, and he looks at Peter, and it's like,
over at Pete.
Motherfucker, like you know.
You're just being wise and being
right.
quiet.
Exactly, wise and quiet. That to me is Robbie, and so I like this moment where as soon as they all show up, he goes, "No, you two jackasses, like you come with me," and he goes, "What is happening?" And he breaks it down, and all of them are like, "What do we do?" Like, "Oh yeah, none of us can corroborate where we are." Or where we were, or where Madam Mask was.
There was also a second, I think, potential red herring in this
Where's
issue.
That? Hit me with it.
So, Luke Cage gets knocked out the window, right?
Yeah.
Venom comes back through that
Whee!
same window.
Yeah. That probably is definitely...
I feel like that's meant to get the audience, leaning towards it being Luke already early on, but then we're probably going to get some misdirects
Oh yeah.
in the coming issues.
See, it's funny. I didn't notice, or like I noticed he got thrown out the window. I didn't put the connection of like Venom coming in through that same window, because that's what he does. He doesn't shatter a new one. He's in the broken one already. But I thought you were gonna bring up the other Luke Cage red herring, and this is one I saw, which is when he finally comes back into the courtroom, his shirt's open.
Right.
And it's like, did he put on a different suit? Did he change quickly? That's very odd, because when he gets thrown out, he's all buttoned up and normal. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, look at, they're trying to say he changed a costume. So either way, 2 red herrings. I just, especially in the world, or like with the cultural comic book like publishing knowledge you and I have, we both just sort of know, right? Like, it's not going to be Luke. You're not going to take another big character.
I would be gigantically shocked and disappointed if it was Luke. It's like Luke already has an identity.
He does not need a symbiote.
Luke
at
doesn't
all.
need the symbiote for a boost. You just, I don't know, give us some good Luke Cage stories.
Give us some good Luke and Danny. Oh, Danny's dead right now, but you can do good stuff with Luke. Yeah, you don't need to just give him a new power, if you will.
Yeah, no, that would be them falling into that trap, right?
Yep, 100%.
Which they don't need to with Luke Cage. The man is a badass.
The man, I mean, one of my favorite stories, like just one-shot stories from Marvel, even way before MCU or even before the New Avengers, when Bendis actually brought Luke back into like the consciousness. I love that story where Dr. Doom hires Luke Cage to like beat up some like Doombot that's on like that's gone rogue.
Hero for hire.
It's during the Heroes for Hire, and he stiffs Luke. So Luke steals a Fantastic car from the Fantastic Four, flies to Latveria, fights his way into Doom's throne room, goes up to Doom, and Doom's like, what insolence brings you? And he just goes, where's my money?
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but Luke's like, where's my money? And Doom's like, you, what? And he's like, you owe me $200. Where's my money? And Doom's like, you did all of this for $200? Are you insane? Get out here. Just like leave. What is wrong with you?
Yeah. Nope. I remember that moment.
He's like, I'm Luke Cage. I get my money. And I'm like, Luke rules. So there's things you can do with him. He definitely doesn't need the symbiote. Yeah, Madam Mask, that just feels like it's a giant red herring. There's no way it's going to be her. Rick, I feel like, is another... Like, I just feel like they're all red herrings almost, right? Like,
well,
Rick,
I feel like that's
probably what they're going for, yeah.
Well, to circle back 3 episodes ago, I want to say, when I said, I don't think it's ultimately going to be any one of these guys.
Yeah, you did.
That gets the symbiote, at least not for any, significant amount of time.
No.
Right? Maybe over the course of the next few issues, who knows? I don't know if this is what they're going to do. Maybe each one of them will get it momentarily or something.
I was literally just thinking that it might turn out to be something where like they each get it for a second. But remember when Peter first got it?
But eventually it's going to go to...
It'll go to Dylan. But do you remember when Peter first got his symbiote and it used to take him out like at night?
Yeah.
And Peter would wake up and he'd go, why am I so tired? I have
he'd black out.
That's what maybe is happening here. It just keeps jumping between them and they don't realize that they were there being Venom. Yeah,
Venom is the symbiote itself is actually the main character of this new series, at least this first arc. And what he's doing, my guess now, is that he's just trying to reacclimate himself to now his new kind of Super Saiyan symbiote.
Yeah,
powers,
whatever
the hell
is.
we want to call it, right? This golden stuff. It looks cool. I guess it's good enough for me.
I like that. Yeah.
And so he's also still trying to do some good. So he's just like he's taking people for a ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
no,
hijacking people.
I can kind of and knowing what we know of how Al Ewing was just characterizing that symbiote in Venom War and stuff, that would make a lot of sense. Like a puppy who wants to do good, like who wants to do right by his hosts.
Yeah.
So before we move into probably the main thing to talk about with this book, 2 things I wanted to point out is, one, another cheap, easy laugh, but I did like this joke right here where, all 3 of them, Rick, Robbie, and Luke, are like, who is it? We don't know. It could be any of us. And they're quiet. And then Rick's like, Colonel Mustard in the study with the
He
candlestick,
makes
and
the
Luke's
clue
just
joke, yeah.
and Luke's just like, shut up. Like, I don't. Again, easy,
liked it.
cheap.
I
I
liked
like
it.
it.
I played Clue with my family growing up as a kid, so I
Right.
was here for it.
No, I totally liked that joke. And then he's a minor character, but I really this AIM guy with his like he's a specialist in superhuman body language. That's what he says.
Mm-hmm.
And so he like has studied everybody who's worn a symbiote and like all the heroes. And during the fight, that's how we sort of get our confirmation that it's not anybody we know, because he straight up says like, I've seen them all fight. It's no, I've never seen that person in the symbiote before.
Yeah.
And
he makes the comment as well that he's starting to recognize some of the movement and that it's from somebody in that room.
I thought that was really interesting, where he's like, I recognize it recently. I don't know where. And then like the big guy's like, are they here? And he's like, no way. Maybe. Oh my goodness. But then they have to, teleport out, and we don't get the solve there. It's not, I just really like that idea, that concept of somebody who's really like a computer database like that. I don't know. It was really interesting. I bought it. I was along for the ride.
Was cool.
I was like, that's cool. That's all. That's really all. I was just like, yeah, very cool.
Yeah. No, I was on board with that. I thought that was a cool thing to do.
But then,
all right, here we go. Gosh,
we
this
get
costume
the last 3 pages of this book. Unfortunately, nobody saw this coming, by the way. This is genuinely a surprise to everybody who cracked open this issue. But it turns out that in the aftermath of the Venom War, Dylan has gone to MJ and Paul for help in tracking down Venom, solving this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of you, as who was it at the top of the show?
Clone Geek.
Oh, Clone Geek. Yeah, as Clone Geek, pointed out when we started the show, obviously a lot of people. So there were previews that were out there, or not even a proper preview. It was like a leak. Like somebody got the issue a couple days ago.
Yeah, it was a leak. Somebody opened the book to that page, snapped a photo of it. It was out of focus. There were dialogue bubbles you couldn't actually read. There were panels that you couldn't see. And so everybody on X was losing their minds.
Right, because like us, don't get us wrong, guys, we all hate Paul. Nobody wants to see him around, and it's sort of like the less we see of him, the better. I also feel like this was sort of a jump scare, if you will, because if you'd have asked me where I think he might have shown up next, I would have never said a Venom solo book. Just like, I know Venom's a Spider-Man character, but Paul just has nothing to do here. And theoretically, Mary Jane with her.
It's funny that you actually say that too, because that's actually commented on.
That is the commentary. But like, then there's MJ, having her aversion to symbiotes from the whole Venom stuff back in the day. So I would have been like, not here. They'll be in Spectacular Spider-Man. They'll pop up in Amazing somewhere. Whatever, not here. So you turn the page and you get Paul and you go, oh no, like genuine jump scare. But as Andrew referred to a second ago, so a couple days ago when that guy or that gal took the photo of the issue or of the pages, uploaded it, everybody on X, on social media, on YouTube, lost their minds going, oh great, here we go. More Paul. This sucks. Unfortunately, or rather, better setup. In the vein of why you guys come here, though, the intellectually honest answer, or the intellectually honest circumstances of all this, is that it's not as bad as we would have thought. So basically, this small scene here is MJ comes back from a night of patrolling as Jackpot, which again, screw Jackpot. I hate the costume. It's all dumb. Honestly, her first one was better. The disco one, like the green one, like not great, but better than this one. Like it's just a relativity game. Yeah. But so she comes back from a night out of being a superhero, and we get this even in this first page right here, this first interaction, we get. I wouldn't necessarily say this was favorable to Paul. You can kind of tell that who's writing this one again. Yeah, it's Al again. So you can kind of tell Al doesn't really. He might not have the biggest affinity for Paul, because what happens is we have Paul. He opens the door to MJ and he goes, "Oh my God, I was worried about you. Where were you?" And she goes, I was just out patrolling. I was doing my thing." And he goes, "Like, I know you think like, or I know you know what you're doing, but like, you're not connected to the system anymore. I don't know where you are. You don't check in." And she just sort of goes like, can we not? Like, can you stop? Like, not tonight. Like it's very much
drop it. I'm having a good night. Don't bring down my mood, right?
Like
It's like, I get that. Like, you're having a good day. You don't want somebody to drag you down into the dirt.
And then I've also been on the other end where in my, more immature moments when a girlfriend or something would come home, I'd be like, what's going on? Like, I haven't heard from you all day. I never assumed they were cheating or anything, but it was just sort of that like worry. Like, I haven't heard from you. Like, where were you? And they go, you need to chill. And like, so I recognize those moments. So I've been on both sides. So I'm like, I know what's going on here. Like Paul's not being the best of like people right now. Like he's letting his insecurities get the best of him. And MJ sort of just like, be done. Like done. Stop. Yeah. Like not tonight. And I don't know if you caught this, but there was this little Paul says right here after she says, can we please not rehash that again? He goes, I'm not trying to start another fight, which I'm like, oh, that's interesting. You normally when that comes up in relationships, it's not just like generic fighting you're talking about. You're talking about like that subject, right? Like you didn't put the dishes away tonight. Like, oh, I don't want to start another fight. Like, please. Right, yeah. And it's like, you're not fighting about, you didn't get the mail or you didn't do the laundry. It's the dishes. Cause that's how language works. That's the subject. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. There's obviously some turmoil going on here. Paul, I really wonder because in this scene too, Paul specifically references like, you haven't been linked properly since the Arachniot fight. Which is, as you guys might remember,
which was when she was tag teaming with Peter.
Basically, when she was like redating Peter for 3 issues again.
Right? Yeah, she may as well have been because that's what we were getting in terms of the energy and the dialogue. Because Joe Kelly did not get the memo, and it was beautiful.
I love you, Joe. You and Colin, it was amazing. Colin Lansing, but. So he references like that. So I wonder if Al's going to do something where like, ideally it feels like Al would do something where that moment starts to sever or like starts to cause a crack in Paul and MJ because MJ does realize, it's Peter and she goes back to him. The only thing like that might prevent that is editorial.
I was going to say Lowe is still head of the Spidey office. Yeah. So, but you can easily, it wouldn't be a stretch of the imagination to believe that that's where Al would want to go.
Right. That's what that was going to be my like follow-up is like, but this is Al Ewing. And not only does like he have a very specific vision of how this all works out, but I feel like he might be one of their more, like he's got more weight to throw around at the Marvel offices than some other writers. Cause he's just on so much right now and so many big books that maybe something will happen there.
He's got a resume behind him too.
Oh yeah, this is not a random person coming in. This is not. I love her, but it's not like it's Erica Schultz. Like it's this guy's been around. He's worked for everybody, so we'll see what happens. But there's definitely, at the very least, you can tell that Al's not the biggest fan of Paul. Yeah. So
and we can really tell here in a second.
So this is what Andrew was really referring to about the out of context bubbles. Guys, as always, I will remind you, or at least advise you, if you see something online and it seems so over the top awful, always look into it. Always double check, because I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, it's going to never be as extreme as what you think it might be. Sometimes it is. And that's when you go, oh, damn. But most of the time you can go, okay, everybody's just sort of crapping their pants because social media.
Everybody's overreacting because everybody likes to overreact.
So the way this issue ends is after MJ's come home, she has this talk with Paul, and we discover, like I mentioned a couple seconds ago, or a few minutes ago, that Dylan is working with, or not just working with Paul and MJ to find Venom, but they've sort of taken him in. They've sort of adopted, not fully adopted him, but, recognizing that he has nowhere to go. He's homeless. We, as much as I loathe to reference anything from the Wells run, they did have that period where they were taking care of the fake kids, which Paul references here. So there is a history there if we're playing with the cards we're dealt. So this was honestly like, again, like playing the hand. It was a neat touch to be like, Dylan is going with like Mary Jane and Paul.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I get it. And it works. And I like that it's sort of keeping it in the spider world rather than, oh yeah, Dylan's hanging out at Graymalkin or whatever that they might have decided.
Or like just bringing in some new character or something.
Right, like yeah, a whole new cast of people, or even like relying on all the symbiote characters, because like I like them in doses, but I feel like I've kind of had my fill of like Toxin.
We just had a handful of months that were basically symbiote centric.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Symbiote central. I'm good
I'm a
now
little cool.
to drop it down to just the one Venom book. All right.
The one Venom book, and then maybe Carnage. We'll see how Carnage turns out.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how Eddie Brock Carnage is. I'll give it the one silver.
But to Andrew's point, so when MJ's back, she asks Paul, "How's he doing?" And they have a brief update. Paul tells him like he's kind of like a brat. He's really angry, and so Dylan hears MJ, and he calls out to MJ like, "Oh, hey, finally someone useful. Can you get in here?" And Paul goes, "Hey, let's moderate our tone here, young man." And Dylan just goes, "Whatever, Top Knot." Like, I
love it. He just back to back trashes Paul.
Like, Dylan does not have the patience for this.
This
shit.
is what I was texting you last night. This like, this reads so clearly like it's Al Ewing, like telling us through Dylan. Like Dylan is his mouthpiece here to tell us, yes, Paul sucks. I hate him too.
Finally, someone useful. That, and then going just like whatever. Like, sure, he's being a bratty teenager, but yes, this definitely feels like
him
Al.
Useless and a loser. Like,
and like, yeah, no, this is what we were talking about. At first glance, yes, it sucks to see Paul, but once you read the actual issue and you see Al's handling of it, I think you walk away from it realizing that it is more of a playing the hand we've been dealt, unfortunately, than Al actually being like, I like Paul. Let's keep this going.
Yeah, so let's use Paul. No, it's
no
Marvel editorial. Well, especially well, now we know the Spidey office is in charge of Spidey, Venom, and Hulk. And so Nick Lowe, you got to know he's telling anybody that's utilizing any of those characters, maybe not so much Hulk, but any of the Spidey and Venom books, you got to take into account Paul. You got to use Paul.
You got to show Paul.
For whatever reason, Nick Lowe is freaking gay for Paul or something like that.
He's so gay for Paul. Like in the like there are creators who like their characters and they they love them and they cherish them. But like Lowe is like obsessed with Paul. Honestly I feel like it's a corn cobbing situation. Like he knows nobody likes Paul, but he refuses to admit that. So he just goes, no, Paul's great. You want more Paul? I'm going to put more Paul right in here. And all of us are going, stop. No Paul. And everybody is up. And then like Al Ewing and everybody else are like the servers, and they go to the back of the kitchen. They go, really? You're serving Paul again? I have to deal with this shit? Like, I'm the one who gets yelled at when I bring Paul out to the table. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
Like, fine. Fuck. All right, I'll bring Paul out to the table. But then a good waiter like Al will be like, okay, if I'm bringing out Paul, I'm going to grab some, like, everybody who's getting a Paul gets a shot too. Like I'm gonna make it better.
Here's the shot.
So
yeah, the shot here being calling Paul useless, and then the chaser being calling him a loser.
But I think you're missing half of the shot too, because remember, join this with MJ sort of telling Paul to shut up. Like you've got Paul looking like a whiny boy. You've got MJ saying like I don't want to fight with you right now. He has to be with
that haircut.
Oh, so. Dude, seriously, I saw that haircut. I was just like, man, this haircut is bad. Like this works for Asian guys, okay?
Right?
Like samurai.
Unless you are descended from samurai, heck out of here with that haircut.
Like, do not do it. So, just everything about Paul was bad. Everything about Paul was bad. We know that, but I think Al Ewing knows that, and most of the Spider writers know that. So, maybe someday we'll get a change. I don't know. Probably not likely anytime soon. Like probably post episode 100 of Foil Variant, if at all.
Oh gosh.
But at the very least, you know what? This is like our own version of the Midnight M. People like Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing and Al Ewing keep writing these books and going like, ha, here's Paul, right guys? And it's like, there's Paul. We get Paul.
You get it. We get it. Type of a thing.
Yeah, no. But so overall, I guess sort of a solid first issue. There were things I really liked. I don't know if
the art's beautiful.
The art is do not get me wrong. The art is fantastic. A lot of the individual character play is really fun, like with like the three of them, like Luke, Robbie, and Rick, and then the AIM scientist guy. And I also liked, because, you know, we all know lawyers do this shit and it's always annoying. But at the very beginning, I genuinely liked. So this guy, I forget his name, but he is Madame Mask's lawyer. Or he's prosecuting her. Sorry, he's prosecuting Madame Mask. And he keeps like, oh, what does he say? He's like, yeah, take a look at New York's newest symbiote. And she's just standing there and they're all like, objection, excuse me, like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm just being metaphorical. Is she not a literal piece of slime? Or he's like, I'm not saying she's a literal piece of slime, but did she come to the city from her own world, her world of crime, to feed off innocent people? Did she turn this whole city into a nightmare? And like, her lawyer rightly points out, like, Your Honor, he's trying to conflate everything. He's trying to scare people using the Venom War to the gang war. And I'm like, this is pretty great. Like, it's so scummy, but the judge shuts
that
like,
scumbag lawyer.
It worked really, really well. So lots of good character work. I don't know if I think the mystery angle, I'm not sold on it yet, because I feel like it's just tired.
Because it's hard to believe any of them will actually
I think that is more
I
accurate.
think we already, especially with them, so I don't know if I'd have the same feeling if they had made one change. But if they had made this one change, I don't know if I would have enjoyed the book as much. So all of the red herrings were a good idea, having the misdirects. Because if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna give us the mystery of, oh, it's one of these 4 characters, we're gonna have to start giving some red herrings and misdirection plays in order for to keep people guessing. Otherwise, you end up with stuff where people already figured out by issue 1.
When there's like no hints, it's like, oh, nobody's hinting towards Robbie. All right, it's probably Robbie.
But they played their hand of what I ultimately think, and I think you agree, of what they're going to end up going with by having Dylan at the end there and him saying, one of these has my symbiote. You're going to help me get it back. It's like, well, Dylan's going to end up with the symbiote again then.
He's going to try.
Which I'm fine with.
Oh, I want
that.
Yeah,
I want that. Certainly compared to these 4.
And I mean,
ideally,
like,
I prefer Eddie with Venom, but Dylan in the cards that were dealt,
right?
Dylan having the Venom symbiote, Eddie. We'll see how it plays out.
We'll see how that
Eddie
plays
being
out.
Carnage.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm curious at the very least. To
curious
see how
is
that
probably the best term
goes.
for it. 100%.
So I think they did play their hand at the end of this first issue, and that might, knowing Al Ewing and his kind of affinity for little Easter eggs and little bits of fan service and little kind of like wink and nod, like, hey, like, I get it, right, type of a thing. As you were using, the Midnight M.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I'm wondering if that was him doing that to almost put fans' minds at ease.
That it's
like,
coming,
hey,
like this is just a story. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this mystery angle is part of it, but he's going to end up with a Brock.
I really hope so. Like, I genuinely really hope so, that it goes back to Dylan, and that this does turn out to be an Al Ewing.
It would make the most sense.
Switch. Oh, no, it makes the most sense both in a Marvel context level, like the universe,
as well as
context,
just a narrative level,
and a narrative and editorial level. It all makes sense for him for it to go back to Dylan. So, like, what I was gonna say is, like, I see that happening, but I also, this is like a caution to you and me specifically, is that I bet you we're gonna see an issue where, like, we fight, like, Dylan gets back to, like, whatever, Venom is fighting, and Mary Jane and Paul and Dylan run up on him, and Dylan's like, come back to me, like, I found you, yada yada. That issue will probably end with, like, the symbiote or the host being like, it's not going back to you, I'm not going back to you. And that'll be like the conflict thing that, teases the next issue. So if that happens, I think you and I just need to remember, like, okay, I think we see what's going to happen here.
Well, they're doing comic books is what they're
doing. Exactly. They're doing comic books. So we might have to wait until, like, the issue after that. But it has to go back to Dylan. It just makes the most sense. Everybody else outside of Rick just has other things to do, essentially. But to your point about how you said you would really want Venom with Eddie, I agree with you, and that's normally who I would put him with. But narratively, right now, I think we've kind of exhausted what you can do with Eddie.
I agree with that.
You literally made him a time-traveling god. I don't know how we go back to street
what
level
else
Venom
do you
off
do
of that.
from there? Yeah,
Right,
no,
exactly.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
So and I'm with you. It's like I love Eddie the most as the host, but here we are. I also like Mac, but that's only because he always gets his shit packed in. Like every time Mac puts on the symbiote, he just gets absolutely destroyed, and it makes me laugh every time.
If it's not Eddie, I like Flash Thompson because Agent Venom was
even to
amazing.
me,
But I like Agent Anti-Venom even better now.
To
Like
me,
it makes even more sense. It
Agent-
feels like a perfect evolution of his character.
100%. Like going from like dark to light, redemption, all that stuff. But I don't know about you, but I almost feel like Agent Venom is almost his own character. Like that's how disconnected he is from like sort of normal Venom. I love him. I love Agent Venom, but he in a good way he feels like his own character.
The symbiote was kind of under control at that point as well.
It was.
Right. It was kind of sedated.
One of my favorite moments still is like one of those early Agent Venom issues where like Flash is fighting, he's doing like a raid and he runs out of guns and he gets like surrounded, and then the symbiote just like busts out like 9 different guns, but it's holding it like as a trigger. And I'm just like, I don't know, like that's dumb comics. I'm here for those kind of dumb comics.
That's freaking comics. That's what I'm here for, man.
Oh man. But so that is All-New Venom. Probably, I mean, we'll keep reading. We'll see where this ends up. Definitely, I don't have it up right now, but in the thumbnail to this episode, cover of the week, Iban, he drew the amazing gold Venom that you see in the thumbnail. So easy cover of the week. It's foil. Oh, wait, did you pick it up? Did you get it? Or is it coming still from Tifa?
Mine's coming from Tifa. I could have picked up an additional one at my shop, and I almost did because they had.
That's kind of surprising.
They had like 2 left, and I was like, I'll let somebody else get it.
Yeah, I run into that a lot. I was just gonna ask. Well, you saw it then. Is it spot foiled? Like how's the foil on that cover?
Yeah, spot foil.
Yes.
All the gold parts.
Yes, that's what we were hoping for. Oh,
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. I am super excited for that book to finally come in.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty cover. It's a super pretty cover.
But yeah, that's Venom. We'll check back in with Eddie and family. Probably the next book is probably Carnage. So we'll see where that plays out.
But that comes out. Huh.
Yeah, like relatively soon. I think it's actually next week. But I think that covers Marvel for us. Is there anything in particular Marvel you wanted to hit? Maybe a quick one?
Nah, I got nothing else stand out for Marvel that's worth talking about like a week later or even from this week.
The quickest thing I'll say, Ultimate 7, pretty cool, but it's just like a standard, just sort of like plot moving issue.
Yeah, it was just a plot moving issue. There was nothing stand out that really happened.
Well, there is that moment where they show America and she like saves a bunch of like here. I'll just show the viewers real quick because I feel like
her costume looks great.
Because I feel like if we say there's a cool moment with America Chavez, nobody will believe us unless we show them what we're talking about, right?
That is true.
So basically,
like, what the hell are these guys on right now?
So as you guys know, the Ultimates are currently a global, fighting force because it's not just New York and it's not government based. It's against Oscorp, Stark Stain, all that international stuff. So actually, I just realized that what we're talking about here could actually lead into another book that we talk about. Our technical book of the week, if you think about it. But in this scene, there are a bunch of protesters in a Latin American country, or Guatemala, it looks like, and they're protesting against some sort of regime, some sort of mistreatment, and the protest starts getting broken up by like riot cops who start beating them up, and America just appears. She what we're hearing, like we're getting a recap of the event from somebody who was there, and they're like, she just came down, like she was just there. She was so bright, like you couldn't look at her. And then I don't know what this power is, but I'm like, where was this America? Because this is sick as hell. There's all these guys in like riot gear, and she like melts them, but like not them, but like melts them inside their armor.
She melts their armor to where it's like she melts it and then solidifies it to the point where it no longer has joints, right? Like, no longer has operating joints, and so they're just like stuck there.
And they're alive too. Like at first I was like, oh, she cooked them, and I was like, it's Ultimates, of course.
That's what I thought. at first too. I was like, oh shoot,
Right.
She just like nuked these guys.
Like,
And I
okay,
mean
let's
nuke as
go.
in like tossed them in the microwave.
But then when she was like, I'm sure someone will come along to cut him out.
Yeah.
I was not only surprised, but that made me realize how much more powerful she is.
Yeah.
That she like can focus only on the armor and not the person inside. I was like, dang. And so then basically she tells everybody, the protesters, about the Ultimates and their mission. And then she like teleports them all back to their home. And that's basically it. So a good 3-4 page moment of America not being smarmy, not really being preachy, just being a genuine hero.
Just being a hero. And looking, honestly, that panel right there
so
looks
cool.
so good.
Did you, I didn't realize this until like right before we went on, actually, but did you so when we first see her, she's only in the suit, like the body suit. She has her jacket now.
Yeah.
Like she has her standard jacket, and I think it works. Like
it does.
I've never
like
been
the
against
combo.
her jacket. I've never, like, even on regular America, I'm like, it's a cool jacket, why not? But here it really, really works with her.
Just this character already seems cooler than regular America.
Like, I don't even want to consider like 616 America as America anymore. Like this is who we always should have gotten. But yeah, aside from that, guys, very standard issue where we just get a lot of plot. I don't want to bore you with the details. Next issue, we get the Ultimate Guardians of the Galaxy. We'll see how that plays out. I have no idea where they're going with that. But that is sort of all we have there. Oh, I don't want to take that away before I ask. So, with that wrap on Marvel, Andrew, should we go over to DC? The answer is yes, because there's no other real books to talk about from a publisher. Well, you got the Top Cow special. How was that?
It was fun. It was just a brief anthology.
Oh yeah. I didn't expect a lot from it. I
it
was
was
hoping
a brief
it was fun.
anthology. One quick mini story about a young Sarah Pazzini kind of recounting a story that her grandmother used to tell her during Christmas time.
Ooh, is that set in the old continuity or the new one?
The new one.
Oh, cool. Just a genuine
and-
curiosity.
Yeah. And it was fun. It was fine. There's nothing like I never expect those types of issues to be anything stand out. I just expect them to be like, this is kind of a fun read. And
Right.
I'm glad
I want to have fun
one
with
of
it.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to have fun. I asked specifically because as Punk pointed out when he brought it to our attention, like the darkness is in that book, and it's like, what the hell? Like I haven't seen you. I haven't seen you in forever.
One of the three anthology stories. So the second one is the darkness one, which involves like his little dark. It involves a darkling family where the dad is literally, the father darkling is just trying to like get to sleep and also just like be with his wife, and he hears all of this clatter on the roof, and it winds up being Santa, and Santa's reindeer is like, cut all this racket, and he knocks out Santa. And then his wife comes up there. It's like, what the hell did you do, dummy? You knocked out Santa.
That sounds very Image Top Cow.
Yeah, no, and it's like, if you don't fix this, that means that our son and a bunch of other kids aren't going to get toys, and you're not getting none, right? and he was like, oh shoot, how am I going to fix this? And so he calls up Jackie Estacado. He calls up the Darkness, which is his boss essentially, and he begs his boss to fix it. And so Jackie, in his full darkness gear, throws on Santa's stuff over his stuff and then hops in the sleigh. He like supercharges. He gives, we'll just call it like
demonizes it.
Crack.
Yeah.
He gives them darkness crack. And so they're like supercharged and they fly off, and it basically ends like that. And it was just kind of a fun little quick read, and I had a good chuckle at it. The weakest one of the three was the Aphrodite 9 one.
I kind of had a feeling that was going to be the weakest one. I don't know why. I just had an instinct.
And it was on both the art and the writing front. On the writing, it felt like it was just it felt like a very half-baked idea for something that was already meant to be a very short story.
Right.
And so it's like, wow, you did not put really any effort into this. Then the art was like, it's not like the art was bad. The art felt like that, like 2010s early mid 2010s image art where they went for a very like softly drawn, like it's not. This is Aphrodite 9. It wasn't sexy.
They got away from what I like to refer to as like the Western house style, right?
Yeah.
Like they got away from that. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And I was just like, this is whatever. Like I'm
This is
glad I
not what I
read the
want.
other two, and
Right.
so that was that was good enough for me.
No, I'm glad at least the Witchblade was good. I'm really happy to hear the Darkness one was good. Sounds hilarious because
And they actually had the main Witchblade artist
Oh!
on
that's
the art
awesome.
for that too.
It was it the
cool.
same writer? Or was it like a guest writer?
Yes, actually. Yeah, it was
Oh!
it was also her. Yeah.
That makes me even more like happy that it's like a genuine, like if they were going to make like a trade, they could include that story in the back of
Yeah.
it as like, this is part of our run. Like I really like that. That's cool.
Yeah, so it actually maintains some consistency there, which
Right.
is cool.
Yeah, there's no oh, why is the Graymalkin warden all of a sudden an awful person? This is very weird. I don't know how we got here.
Right? Yeah. It's like, okay, whatever. I guess we're doing this.
Yeah, I guess we're doing this. But speaking of guess we're doing this, let's hop over to DC. Let's, constantly sort of surprising us considering when we started picking back up comics, our pull
Neither of
list
us
were
was reading anything DC.
empty. No DC. So I think, let me see, we've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. The maybe 5 one I'm referring to is JSA, because I know we talked about it a lot last time because of how they treated Jesse. But did you did you get to this issue?
I did read it, and it was
It's
just
another
kinda
plot
there,
one.
like-
It's just a
yeah,
plot
like
one.
I honestly don't have much to say about this issue.
The
At
only
the very
yeah.
least, I'll say that at least it was an issue that wasn't crapping all over Jesse.
It's 100% true. I actually did like how everybody was kind of written in this issue. Jesse only speaks once, so that's probably how we got away with that without her getting like run over. It's literally this one that. Well, this was also this pissed me off. This is the one moment where they actually did kind of crap on Jesse, where they're going to they have Wildcat, Hourman, and Jesse go investigate like Ted Knight's old observatory because something's going wrong there. And when Hourman's there, he's like, all right, like we're here, we got to be careful, like let's check it out. And Jesse just goes, "Phew!" And he's like, what? Hold on. And I'm like, Jesse's not Impulse.
I was about to say she's not like 90s Bart Allen.
Right. So I was just like, stop, please. But I was like, thankfully that was it, and we got to move on from it. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about it. I think the most I would say about it is that I didn't expect to already get the explanation to the setup to the arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to why they're in the freaking why they're in the tower. So I thought there'd be a little longer of a mystery of how they got trapped in that tower, and then also like who are the bad guys here,
right?
Which was teased at the end of the first issue
of the first one,
but we see like, oh well, they actually are the ones that caused all this.
They like show out in this issue, like they actually start their attack, and I was so taken. This is how taken aback I was. I didn't notice on this first page that it was 1 week ago, so I thought we were still in the middle of what was happening. And so we get Obsidian like yelling at Ted, and he's like, we gotta change, yada. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what's his name, at it again, because we saw at the end of the last issue he was disguised as him. But then the attack starts, and Mr. Sorrow is there, and I was like, wait a second, what the hell? And then I had to jump back, and I was so shocked, like, wow, they're actually telling us what happened and actually going to the next part of the attack. Sure. Like, all right. Like,
yeah, I'm still not necessarily sold on the book. I don't know
Definitely
how,
not here.
I don't know how long I'm going to stick with it. We'll see what the next issue brings. I don't know if I'm going to end up finishing out the first arc or not. It's going to have to really pick up for me.
Yeah.
For me to, because I mean, we just had several months of like, I had so many books in my pull list because I was getting everything for Venom.
We were catching back up, yeah.
And I was getting all of the X books. I slowly started paring those down. Now it's like DC is in their phase of like, all right, show me. You have good books right now or nah? Like
show
right
me.
now they're I'm with them on a handful of them, and then there's some where I'm like, I don't know if I'm sticking with it yet.
Yeah, no,
this is one of them.
I'm right
I'm not
there
sure.
with you. And this is one I'm not sure on either. I think I might finish out the first arc even if you drop it, just because I really like Jeff Lemire as a writer. So like,
Yeah.
I'll give him a little leeway and say, take me through the first arc. I'll see that to the end. But I get why you would want to drop it. Like, I totally get it. I'm not.
Well, I like Lemire as well. I'm just not sold
No.
yet on this.
And I'm right there with you. I'm just saying, like, personally, I'm allowing myself to give him a little more leeway.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I know you like him, and I like, there's just nothing really here. And really, the end of this book is what's kind of soured me on everything, right? Because we get the classic JSA. They're out in the tower. They're fighting. I actually thought this was kind of interesting, where they're like, the door is here somewhere. You got to find it. And as soon as Jay finds it, like, the Injustice Society just wham!
And Grundy just brains him.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I was just like, ooh, damn, like, okay, let's go. So I kind of liked that, but this, like, they end the issue on Carter getting stabbed, and I'm just like, of all characters, a Hawk person dying does not matter. Like, of all characters, they come back all the time.
Tell me you had zero
frequently
commitment to this scene.
Right, exactly. So I was just like, I got to this page and I just went, okay, man, I'll read the next issue. But I didn't feel jazzed about this.
Yeah.
I was just like, cool, we've been here. Hawkman dies. Great. Cool, see you next month. So,
yeah.
JSA, we'll see where we go with that one. But that's all I really have to say about it. There's not a lot to talk about. But our other books, I know there are a lot to talk about. So, Andrew, where do you want to start? Because I know there's one book in particular that'll probably destroy our conversation by taking most of our attention. But I know there's also some really good stuff out there. So where do you think we should head?
So, in the interest of triage and time management.
Oh, wow. Wow. Good show. I didn't even notice the time had passed, but
yeah,
yes,
I just looked over and saw it. I want a quick hit Batgirl.
Gotcha.
And then I feel like it would make sense to quickly touch on JLU.
Yeah. I think we've got to at least just touch on it.
Yeah. But the two that we'll actually, I think, probably get more into, and one of them I'm going to try and be good on.
No, Flash. I don't want you to.
Flash.
We can't anyway. We tried that last time.
We did.
Every time you and I, not even last stream, every time you and I just hang out, it's like, I don't want to get into it, but you know how I feel about Bart. And then whoever says that just keeps going anyway. We just go.
And Book of the Week, which is
Absolute Superman, so good. So Batgirl, you want to walk us through Batgirl? You want to start us, or you want to quick hit us with what you want? Because I read it, I did like this book a lot, but I want to know what you.
Yeah, so far I'm surprisingly enjoying it. I really enjoy the way that they're handling the storytelling here, which is a lot of internal thoughts for Cassandra.
Yes.
A lot of her internal observations, because she's not chatty.
No.
If you're looking for a character that's a chatterbox, she ain't it.
Which I'm so glad that they didn't do the thing. Like, I always worry when you have a mute character like this. Some Cassandra writers have done this, and I always hate when it happens. They let her talk a lot in her head, and they keep it in her voice, like, admittedly, with the broken words and whatever. But I'm like, nah, that's just not her. She's not talking to herself all the time. She's very stoic.
It doesn't work that way. She's just an observer.
Right.
Most of the time.
That's the best way
observer,
to put it,
or if she's not observing, she's acting.
And
it's an action
those are the
or
only
an
two.
observation.
Yep.
Yeah. She's not doing this. In the first issue, we had her meeting up with her mother, Lady Shiva, and Lady Shiva is trying to convince her that there's this threat to the city, threat to the world, and there's this mysterious group that's coming after her, and that her life is also in danger, and that if she doesn't come with her, that all the people that she cares about in Gotham, their lives are also going to be in danger. So this is the follow-up on that, and we find out that this group called the Unburied, they are this group who were killed while under the influence of the blue flower, which when I read that, I
So there was a temporary internet hiccup. I can explain it when Andrew gets back, but that is why he is temporarily not here. He will probably be back in just a second. Hopefully, I am still live. Let's triple check that. There he is. He's back. All right, there. Your camera's here.
Sure what happened.
Oh, cool. Now I can hear you. Say something again. Hello? Say somethings. If you hear something, say something, or whatever that is. Here, I'll refresh the control room. I'll get back in there. There we go. Now I'm back in the control room. I don't know why it didn't automatically put us back in.
There we go. I have no idea what happened.
Me neither. I think it was just a quick internet hiccup. Nothing wrong on our end. Nothing breaking down. No YouTube problems. Frames are all good. It's just some particle from the sun probably hit something and just farted us up. But right before we died, for that those 3 seconds, you were making the comment about, is this the same blue flower from? And that was literally where
Batman Begins, from Batman Begins.
Oh,
yeah.
shit! I didn't think about that.
I think it was meant to be that. What the hell was it called? It's not a lotus
man.
flower.
No. I gotta look it up. Blue flower, Batman Beyond. The
You got it before me.
Well, I didn't get the Beyond one. I got from the first Batman movie, from the Dark Knight.
Batman Begins.
Yeah. Did you say Begins, not Beyond? Oh, I'm an idiot then. But
at least in my head, I said Begins.
But we
did I say Beyond?
here's the problem. You might have, but we also know that I'm stupid sometimes, and I just hear other things. So we'll mulligan it, and now I know what you're talking about. It's the Bhutanese, I think they just call it a blue flower. It's just there. But I think you're right. That's a cool. I actually really like that then. That's really, really cool. That's a nice little callback. I thought genuinely, and not even in a bad way, in a sort of Squadron Supreme sort of parody fashion, I thought they were doing a Black Panther thing.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
But not in a we're stealing this wholesale, but very clearly paying tribute to Black Panther. That's especially because it was it was passed down from my mother. It's legends, only a small bit of it. And I was oh, maybe they're doing that. But I think, never mind. You're way more on point. That's awesome. No,
so I think that was just kind of a cross medium callback is what that was, which
100%.
I liked as well. I was that's kind of cool. All right. At least somebody watched a movie. That's cool. Some people don't even do that much work and research, right? But yeah, so she tells us this. They end up going to what is Cassandra's. Now, I haven't read any Cassandra Cain Batgirl in a long time, so I don't know if I don't remember if this is a new element added.
I have no idea. Or
if this is something that's been in existence for a while. So that's
I know the most recent. So the good news is she hasn't been around a lot, but I know that there was that recent Batgirls series, that was Stephanie and her. So. That was
a
over.
year ago or something.
No,
right?
It's old, and I'm pretty sure it's over. But I think if at all, if this does play, I think it's going to be in there.
Okay.
I don't know it. I didn't read that series, so I'm exactly where you are. But go ahead.
Okay, fair enough. Well, they go to this place, which is kind of like her home away from home. It's kind of. It seems almost like it's a safe spot, right? A safe house. But it's a restaurant actually owned by this old. I think it's a Vietnamese woman. Who we learn is actually also a martial artist. So Cassandra hangs out there and likes the food. We actually even get this explanation in the book where when Lady Shiva is talking with this older lady, that when she's asking, how did you come to know my daughter? She actually just says, well, she wound up here and she liked the food, so she decided to stick around and come back frequently, right? And hey, that's why I return to restaurants if I like the food. So I'm fine with that. And she wound up doing that, but both teaching the boys there who are the servers and the chefs, teaching them martial arts so that they could protect themselves and care for themselves, while also learning under this older Vietnamese woman who has her own fighting style. So I thought that was this really cool blend of both mentorship and student. right?
Yeah. Oh,
So
100%.
that's a really cool way to do that. And Lady Shiva, being the manipulative person that she is trying to. This whole thing is her trying to figure out an angle into convincing Cassandra to come with her, to dip, because Cassandra has been very clear that she has no intentions of going with her and leaving Gotham City.
That is still
her home.
That is still one of my favorite. That might be like a vote for me for panel of the year. Is in the very first issue when Cassandra's like, here for terrorism? No, goodbye. And I'm like, like
peace. I was like, oh snap.
She's like
sparing no words.
Like she has no time for this. I was like, heck yeah, best panel ever.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I've always loved how Cassandra, when written well, is she's a great character. Great character.
Always loved her.
And so, she's trying to get insight from this woman as to how to like convince her daughter, because this older woman clearly has an affection for Cassandra as a student and like a type of a daughter figure. And hearing from her this student of hers birth mother that her life is potentially in danger if she doesn't come with her, that makes her a little more malleable because there's emotion there, right?
Right.
And she doesn't also have all the context of who exactly Lady Shiva is. She doesn't know that she's a POS. She doesn't know that she's manipulative twat. So she's offering information, or at the very least offering insight and suggestions. And to be fair, they're good suggestions. Like, hey, maybe try being a little more soft with your child. Show some compassion that you're trying to show me here that you have for her. How about you actually show that to her, right? And before we can continue on that conversation,
one of the best scenes.
the fight happens after. Well, actually, no, the fight happens after she and Cassandra are sitting down and eating.
Yep.
That's right. So they're having a conversation about like, all right, how are we going to proceed? How do we move forward? But the unburied get the jump on them, and then we get this fight scene, which is pretty well choreographed. Like there was some cool panels going on in here.
There's some really good stuff here,
and great stuff with Cassandra for sure, because she's of all of the Bat family members, it's not wild to consider her the most talented and skilled in terms of just straight hand-to-hand combat.
I honestly, if I can also, I agree, and I would also entertain arguments about her being better than Batman in physical combat. That like obviously Batman's got the entire tool set,
right?
But she's like, if you split him up into like specific parts, he's the combat one.
Remove all the gear, remove all of that, and obviously remove and put them all at equal playing field in terms of physicality, because obviously Bruce he towers over Cassandra, right? Like,
right, and so Cassandra's smaller, she can move faster. Like,
the advantage he has in just the sheer physicality is insurmountable, practically. But if we're just to look at them all on an even playing field, and then look at just their skill level as a fighter, honestly, I think Cassandra would be top one.
I just rolled my eyes, not at what you were saying, but because I just remembered the DC All-In like ID cards, and where they were like power 80, powers, and like made no sense.
Flash was at like 70 or something like that. I was like
completely not on the board.
Like, what are you talking? Yeah, I don't. Oh, that's too much of a rabbit hole. We get this battle, and it quickly becomes a losing battle because this dude has some skills and abilities that they're not equipped to deal with. So they actually end up having to get the hell out of Dodge. And it ends with one of Cassandra's kind of like compatriots there at that restaurant hideaway getting, it looks like, killed, or most of them getting killed. At the very least, it looks that way.
Yeah.
And then Lady Shiva taking her daughter and them actually getting on the train to leaving Gotham. And you hear, I like that they did this because she starts thinking of the people in Gotham that she cares about. She lists off Steph. She lists off Babs. I specifically like that she called her Babs.
Me too.
Because Babs is a term of endearment. It's not her just calling her Barbara.
Exactly.
Right?
And what we know of Cassandra is that she doesn't do that. like normally, right? Like she doesn't contract her words.
She
or
would not
use nicknames.
verbalize that,
Never.
you know, in actual audible words, audible language. But the fact that in her mind, because she actually cares about these people, that's the way that she refers to Barbara in her mind. I really liked that. I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Staff
Yeah.
Bruce Babs, and then you die soon. Tell me where they are, they die, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I'm gonna continue reading this because it's
Yeah.
actually pretty rock solid so far, and I'm genuinely shocked. I've only picked up the first issue on a whim because it was a foil art germ variant.
Yep, the foil art germ variant. No, I'm right there with you. I'm enjoying this series. This definitely feels like one of those that in the future you could recommend to like a non-comic reader, like right off the shelf, and they wouldn't have to read a bunch of shit or whatever. Like this is a good one to
Easy
get a
jump
friend.
on point.
Right, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah. So I really, the pacing is also really good. You get the right amount. Well, I know we complained last issue about, you know, the cold opening the setting, which they really did hard in the last issue. But this issue, I felt, did a really good job of pacing like plot development, character development, action, ending sting. Like it, you know, nothing held on too long. Everything worked well. Just, yeah, solid pacing just from the jump.
Yeah,
so
it's a good book right now. I'm
yeah,
gonna keep reading it.
That's really all I can kind of say is that this is a damn solid book, really fun. Check it out if you're a Cassandra fan, which most people should be, because she's awesome.
Yeah, she's a great character.
All right, with that good book out of the way, where JLU?
Let's run through JLU.
Let's just run through JLU real quick. So, guys,
We didn't actually talk about this book off air.
Because you know what? I really don't know what there is to talk about with this one. This is
Not much actually happens.
it's a very standard first Justice League issue, right? Like here are our members, here's our charter, and then you get your one ending
Here's the
stinger
setting.
right, and then you get your ending stinger of here's the arc plot. So yeah, not really not a lot to write home about. It Justice League Unlimited, the new Justice League series. We haven't had a proper Justice League for years now, like 4 or 5 years. They broke up during Dark
Crisis.
Yeah, Dark Crisis, I think.
It was Dark Crisis because they all died.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So they were just gone. And so, for those of you who haven't sort of been keeping up with the DC All-In stuff, the new Justice League is essentially the Justice League Unlimited from the end of the animated series, where all of the heroes are on the Justice League. They all get deployed to different missions. They have the home base. Even the satellite is even run by the Challengers of the Unknown, like it was in the cartoon. So I was like, pretty cool. Another one of those things, Andrew, of like taking another piece of media and incorporating it. Even if, I really hope that cover is at the back of this issue, because that red sky cover that looks super foreboding and awful and not heroic at all.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can talk about that. But back to the actual book. So yeah, we get this kind of cute moment of so Airwave is he's been a hero. He's been an established hero. He got brought back out of obscurity during Absolute Power by Mark Waid, and Mark Waid is clearly continuing to use him. So he's sort of, Airwave is sort of our, what do you call it, like reader avatar. And so he's coming up to the station for his first day. He gets, he meets Wally, who gives him a very fast tour of the entire satellite, which is also, again, to tell us what is going on there.
Yeah, it's literally utilizing him as the lens for the reader to see and learn about the new watchtower.
So we get a pretty quick thing. These are, I knew a lot of this stuff, but that's because we are online and we follow comic book stuff. So like I saw the interviews where they showed the blueprints and stuff. So
yeah,
this probably works better if you're not a giant nerd like we are. But I did like this moment, right? So hear me out here and maybe help me come up with my opinion on this, Andrew, because so I like, Wally running Airwave around the station. That's in his personality. And like, I even like this moment right here where he's like, you want more or do you need to take a breath? And he's like, must breathe. And he's like, no time. Like, we got to go. I was like, that's funny. The one thing that sort of took me back about this, though, is like the Flash, like he knows, like the Speed Force protects him from all that, from like friction and all that stuff. I don't like it doesn't necessarily extend to other people. I don't think they've done that in a long time. So like,
well, they haven't talked about it in a long time, but at
Yeah.
one point it did do that. So if you're
Right.
touching and holding on to that person, then it would protect them. That Speed Force aura that all conduits
Right.
have will extend to whomever you are touching and things like that.
And that's what I figured they were doing, but it, like you said, it's been so long since they've even mentioned it that I was like, and we know the
because
Flash
they don't
is,
even
like-
talk about any of the normal Speed Force stuff anymore. Just that it's this massive universe, multiverse,
Yeah,
omniverse like thing, and they're doing crazy stuff with it constantly and trying to constantly redefine it. And we never talk about the simple stuff anymore.
Fundamentals. But yeah, that was sort of the only thing that took me aback. And if you are giving it the benefit of the doubt that it's the aura, then I'll go with the aura too. But I was just like, seems wildly not heroic for Wally to just grab somebody and jet them around the watchtower like that. Like, just seems wildly unsafe.
Yeah, I was operating under the assumption that we're working with Speed Force aura here.
Mark, if only Mark Waid would have thrown in like one word bubble or something, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't worry, like Speed Force aura, I got you. You won't burn up, and then, cool. That's all I need. I don't need you to sit there and detail it. Just note that it's around.
Exactly.
So
no, that's
then
fair.
we get sort of the first deployment of a team, which is a mashup of Kid Flash, Black Lightning, Firestorm, Superman, Wonder Woman, Star Sapphire. They go to fight a bunch of war wheels, which I actually thought that was a good idea. Like, I saw the war wheel pop up on their like screen here, and I was like, really? War wheels? All right, this is the sort of like comic book stuff we should be dealing with. Okay, let's see where we go with this. But everybody fights. It's a pretty decent fight scene. Nothing really to write home about.
It's a solid fight sequence, but nothing particularly special or standout happens, with the exception, I think, of the way that they utilized Star Sapphire's power.
Yes, that's what I was going to point out too, because I think that's probably
That's the power of love.
of love. No, see, that is sort of the main thing I wanted to touch on, because I don't recall this really being a power, but I like it if this is what they're introducing. Because
and they have, even if it wasn't a power before, they have the excuse of the absolute power fallout.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so they can go
Because of all the
"Look,
power
we've got
shake up and
something new."
everything. So
Right.
maybe that extends to lantern powers or ring powers. I don't know.
Considering that Mark Waid was like, oh yeah, Amazo robots can take away lantern ring power, I'm gonna say that he doesn't know how they work anyway, so probably.
Yeah,
But
we'll just go with it, I guess.
We'll just go with you. He doesn't know anymore. But basically, we get this really cool moment where they, in the midst of the war wheel attack, they find one soldier who is still barely alive. But Black Lightning is like, if we move him, he's done. Like, he's not making it. We can't do this. And so whatchamacallit, they kind of like, or what am I saying? Star Sapphire's like, okay, I can do something. Like, does he have a name? Can you tell me anything about him? And they look in his wallet and they see his name, and Star Sapphire realizes like, oh, he's been calling out a name. That's not his name. That's got to be like his wife. So we get this really cool moment out of Airwave and Kid Flash, where Airwave turns into a radio wave and basically goes through everybody's devices and is like, we need this woman. Find me this woman. Anybody. Hello, where are you? And when she finally is like, I'm here, Kid Flash grabs her, or Wallace West, sorry. Let's be clear about who it is. Wallace grabs her and runs her back to her husband, and Star Sapphire is able to take their love literally and use it to heal him. Like, completely heal him. And I don't know. I think that's a really good use and expansion of her power set. I think that makes sense. It's got a good limitation. Right? Like, I can see so many moments where they're going to be like,
it's
heal,
not
and it's like,
you
you
have
don't love
somebody
it.
you love, because everybody has somebody they love. You need that person in proximity to be able to draw on your love for each other. Like, I like that.
No, I really like that. And like I was saying, like, there's good drama that could come from it. Because, like, imagine if, like, obviously they worked out, but imagine if they grab the wife and Star Sapphire's like, let's do this. Why isn't it working? What the heck? And she's like, I guess like I don't really love him. We've been on like the outs for like the last 6 months. I don't know. And
Ooh.
you can either have it like it
That
ends
could be
there.
a real heartbreaking moment
Right.
too.
It could either be a big heartbreaker moment right there, or we could also flip it if we wanted to and turn that into a, yes, you guys are having trouble and we don't want to, downplay that, but remember like your love, like at least focus on that. Do you truly love him? And they can be like, yeah, we're not working right now, but I do, for all our faults. And then boom, they're back. And so I just think it's really good. And like I said, the limitation is really important. The proximity limitation. Because if it was just, oh, you're in love, you're good, then it would be another situation of like, what are we afraid of? Like nothing is going to hurt us whatsoever. But then we get this, I don't know, this tease really didn't get to me. Superman finds this communication box where this group called the Inferno sends him a message of basically like, we're already coming for your planet. We have plans. We'll see you soon. And I don't, like, you guys can all probably tell from the way I'm recapping it. It's just, we've been here.
It just feels like a generic villain introduction. Mysterious villain introduction, or villain group.
Well, like, remember in Young Justice, there was like the light or whatever, and it was like the 7 screens, like the Young Justice cartoon, and it was like the 7 screens. Well, they brought that into continuity with whatever it was, like whatever was before All In Rebirth, probably whatever was after that. But they introduced that, and it turned out that there was like this Council of 7, and it was all Brainiacs from like across the multiverse, and they sort of used that to set up Absolute Power and Lazarus Planet and all that stuff. So I'm like, we just did this plot. We literally just did this, and now we're going right back into it. Like, I don't know. You haven't sold me there.
Yeah. Don't dip into the well too many times and too frequently.
This is actually probably what I was more interested in. Is there's like, so Batman and Blue Beetle get a call down to Costa Rica, and they're like, there's something really weird happening, guys. Like, we don't know, and people are being taken into the forest by what they think is a monster. The two heroes go in to investigate, and they just find a whole forest full of these like face hugger pods that are open. And so they're like, oh hell, like we have no idea what this is. This is scary. So interesting. Again, you know me, I like my like out of this world monster stuff. So a little bit of an appeal, more appealing than the we're a secret council of bad guys thing. Like genuinely more appealing than that. But here's where I feel that the book really let me down, right?
Yeah.
Which is at the very end of this issue, we get everybody comes back from the mission, and Airwave, Superman says, "Welcome to the Justice League," and Airwave, goes off to cry by himself, and we get this reveal that, I'm here to kill them all. Now we don't know what that means, like, but here's my thing: is like, I feel like we do this a lot. Like, new member joins Avengers or Justice League, and
I'm
they're
going
actually
to try to kill them all.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to try to kill them all. So we do that a lot. I feel like we also do that a lot with old characters like this, like obscure characters. You bring them back, and it's like, oh, interesting, Airwave. And then it's like, oh, he's only brought back because he's a bad guy. And it's like, I feel like that's a disservice because I feel like maybe we could do something. Like maybe Airwave could have had something really cool going on, but unfortunately, doesn't look like it. So, I mean, obviously it's issue 1. This is the stinger. We will see where Mark Waid takes us. I'm obviously not as trusting of Mark Waid anymore after his meltdown about Trump because he straight up said, I can't write this anymore. Well, then why are you...
I can't write superheroes anymore.
Then why are you here? Then why are we even here? Right, exactly. Right. So...
And it's not that it was a bad book, per se, but it wasn't any... I was expecting a lot more out of this issue.
I was too.
I haven't gone into many books this year at all with high expectations. I had high expectations for this.
I had high for this too because it's the combo. It's Mark Waid and Dan Mora. I was like, all right, let's do this. And genuinely, I going back to like the lineup, I was really excited to see Star Sapphire here. I was like, that's cool, that's new. Let's see what happens. And then of course, and then Wally's there, so we always just like seeing Wally getting his respect. But yeah, just sort of very generic beats. That's just a Hush preview. Yeah. Nobody cares about Hush too. But just a very generic beat of a book. Yeah. I mean, I'll read it. I'll read the next few, I guess, but
yeah, we'll see what.
But
happens.
yeah, like with
this first
like with
issue
Andrew,
didn't have me jazzed.
right? I was expecting so much more, and I kind of just got nothing.
I was expecting this to end up my book of the week.
I was too for last week, and just nothing. And you know what made me even sadder? There's no. So this is Dan Mora art, and the book is incredibly, like, all the art is great. Don't get me wrong. There are no close-ups for his women. Like he doesn't get a shot for his like beautiful female characters, and I'm just like,
right.
That's what I live for with these books.
Dan Mora girls.
Dan Mora girls. Dan Mora women. Second only to Marco Cicchetto MJs. But
Man.
that's unlimited. We'll see where it goes. I think more than anything, I'm a little let down.
Yeah.
Just like we had potential.
I didn't hate it. I didn't even dislike it. I was just kind of like, oh, I was expecting it a bit more.
Yeah, right. Just like okay. So that is Justice League. Buckle up for that, because obviously this book is probably going to last for a little while. All right. 2 more books, Andrew. Do you want to hit book of the week and then anti-book of the week?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So
book
guys,
of the week, baby.
And when we say book of the week, we mean this with our whole chest. There is this book, Absolute Superman. This is what I like. Okay, I know that in the first issue, we were sort of a little cautious, like, what are we doing here? But I think this second issue really nailed everything down. Really, I don't know. Like, I'm so about this.
The second issue is what got me on board. The first issue had me curious. The second
That's a
issue
good way
is
to
where
put
they
it.
had me.
That's a really good way to put it. Curious and then had me. So
Right.
you guys...
You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
Now you have my attention. So we open the book on a very dystopian. This is or should we separate this into like Krypton scenes and then like Earth scenes? Because this book probably more than any jumps around a lot.
It does jump around a lot, yeah. So I think we can split it between the A plot and the B plot there.
All right. So we'll start with the A plot, and the A plot, if you guys remember, involves Absolute Superman having just been discovered by the Peacemakers last issue, helping out people in Brazil. They basically come down to arrest him, say, come with us, and they have Lois Lane is their lead agent. She cuffs him, and that's where we ended the last issue. So we pick back up here where Lois has him at gunpoint. He's trying to be like, all right, whatever, I don't have time for you. So he tries to get out of the cuffs. It's not working. He finds that they are like, they're about to get blasted. And it's pretty dark because the Peacemakers are like, oh, Lois is there. And their boss is like, doesn't matter. Open up. Like, take him out. And so he moves to protect her. And we finally get his cape, which is made out of dust. Don't know what it is exactly yet. Like, is it Krypton dust? Yada, yada. But it's damn cool. It's so damn cool. It's a
cool new way of differentiating the suit.
Yes. And like it's almost Spawnish. Like his cape can like furl around them and he like communicates with it. So
yeah, it's like Spawn or Vincent.
Yes, exactly. So I like that. I'm so sold on the cape, and I'm really glad that they kept this different way of drawing it. Right? Like they didn't use hard outlines or anything. It's very much free-flowing, dust painty style that I think sells it more than if you'd have house styled it.
And
it wouldn't
not
have hurt.
many artists would have been able to pull that off well. Either.
No, Sandoval's killing it on this.
Rafa
series,
Sandoval is one of the few artists I think right now who can make that work.
This guy's, I don't know. I'm such a fan of his work on this book that it's pretty insane. But yeah, like here's the thing I was talking about. The Brainiac system suggests chem rounds, level 11. Will do, though I can't guarantee the safety of the agent. Nobody's asking you to, Peacemaker. And then copy that. And then he reiterates like the company mantra. Lazarus means life. And just something to like, wow, like the twisting of what that means, right? Like we're Lazarus, we're protecting human life, but they'll sacrifice the life. It's just like, dang, like we're really in an evil, evil, evil world here. More than you would get from Absolute Wonder Woman at that.
Yeah.
But so basically, Soups saves Lois. We get this really good connection moment where she's sort of like, what are you? Who are you doing? Like, what the hell is happening? And he he's very childlike. And he's just like, your planet's so broken. Like, what is happening here? Like,
Yeah.
You guys, like, essentially you got to do better, but without being like that condescending and stupid. Like,
Without being that
genuine.
guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't have time to talk to you. Like, I have people to save. This is so bad. And he ends up defending Lois from the Peacemakers because, well, defending himself and Lois because she's attached to him. But here's where I think the book really starts picking up. And so Clark throws a car, takes down a helicopter. The helicopter crashes into a church. The church obviously has people in it, and Clark's first instinct, even before like fighting, he rushes over to the church and he's like, I'm going to save these people. But in his saving of people, we get this overlay of text, of words from
it's like
Lois.
this narration
Yeah.
from Lois, yeah.
Because it's her report from later on, but it's being recited now, if you will. But
Yeah.
Soups goes in and he saves everybody who's in the church, and basically, like, Lois starts realizing he's not the enemy. Like, he's just essentially a boy, like a lost child. And she starts being, like, enraptured with him. That's the word Andrew used last night. And I'm like, that's perfect. Like, she's not falling in love with him, but she's like, who are you? Right? Like, just total shock. And eventually Superman jets out of there. He uncuffs and he's like, doesn't even say a word, just takes off. So after that, Lois goes to give her after report to the Brainiac system. And this is where we start seeing more of how dystopian this world is, because Lois starts giving her report and the system is very leading, but she's not sort of playing into it. Like, the first question Brainiac asks is, how grave of a danger would you rank the subject on a scale of 1 to 10? And she's like, he's not. Yeah, he's really strong, but, and he goes, an 8. Got it. Thank you. And it's like, that's not what she said.
Yeah, that's not what she said at all. She didn't give you any number.
Right. And then
she literally said he's not a danger.
And then he asked, like, do you think the threat warrants neutralization, or can he be controlled? And she's saying, like, no, he's too much like a free person. He can't be controlled. And so Brainiac goes, got it. Termination advised. And it's like, and Lois gets mad. She's like, what is happening? Like, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah. So that the report takes what she said and runs with it, which leads her to sort of feeling like, I need to do this myself. That's what she realizes here. She's like, I need to make a report. Even if nobody reads it, like, I have to write about what I saw today. And we'll go back to what she wrote, because it's actually probably the highlight of the issue for me. But so she writes her report, and then we get this neat little bit at the end where she finishes up and she goes, damn, that actually felt good. Which is like, yeah, that's our Lois. We know deep down you want to be a reporter. Oh man. And then end of the book is the Peacekeepers picking themselves up from Superman's defeat, and they're all just sort of like, what do we do now? Yada yada. And they decide to, like, take their anger of defeat out on the people. And they just go, oh, they probably all know who Superman was. And they just unload. Like, I got to that panel, Andrew, and that was an out loud exclamation moment. I literally was like, oh, damn. Like, we're dark, but I didn't know we were going that damn dark. Like, let's go. Okay, Jason Aaron. Okay, you've got me along for the ride. Yeah. But there's actually fewer panels for the B story than I thought, compared to last issue at least. But the B story on Krypton, we get a look into what their society was like, and this is a really harrowing way to open up this issue and really sell the idea of dystopia both on Krypton and on Earth, because it'll relate to, like, the Brainiac system. But basically we learned that on Krypton, the kids do their, like, essays and homework by literally using, like, a ChatGPT AI trained only on the very approved Krypton history, like
the approved narrative.
Yeah, the approved narrative from the Science Council. And so one day Clark writes an essay on his own, because it's like calling out like an abuse of some, like, farmland or something. And the teacher gets him in trouble. They're like, what? You wrote this? And he's like, yeah, I did. She's like, no, you need to source it all from the archives. Like, I want to talk to you after class. Like, you have to come here. And it's just like, wow, they do not let anything go on Krypton. But then we get to more Laura and Jor-El, and we see that they are the ones who created the weird fire AI thing that is in Clark's suit that we're not sure what it is exactly yet, but it's clearly some form of sentient AI thing. Like, I think that's pretty apparent. Almost like a mini symbiote. Like, it doesn't take you over, but it's, you know, it can help break things and move and yada yada. So they're designing that, and we get the sort of really sad you know, it's a standard talk in all Superman stories that go to Krypton, but of Laura and Jor-El realizing, like, they're not going to listen to us. We can only build a rocket for, like, our family. This is what we're going to have to do.
The prototype, and they specifically, there's a lot of foreshadowing there, because, I mean, it's not even really foreshadowing at this point.
Because we know, but yeah.
Yeah, because we know what the outcome is. We know that only Clark gets on there. At least that's easy to presume, right?
Right.
But, you know, Laura mentions that, you know, it's only going to be big enough currently. The prototype is only large enough for a child, right? And so it's like, well, of course it is, because this is a Superman story.
Well, it better be big enough for a child and a dog, because Krypto is very alive.
if we, I don't want to go down that road actually right now. No,
we are not. This is not a Sparky situation. I'm declaring that right now.
Yeah.
But so that is this issue. As far as my thoughts, like, amazing handling of the world. It is amazing seeing this, like, optimistic, hopeful Clark remaining optimistic and hopeful in the face of just, like, the shitty environments, like, on Krypton and Earth that he found himself in.
It's a great contrast with the heavy dystopian environment on Earth and the heavy authoritarian environment that he grew up with on Krypton.
Yes, that's a good point.
There's a really strong, without being it. So bear with me, because these seem like competing ideas. There's a very strong narrative here and undertone of anti-authoritarian and, like, anti-overuse of AI, like with the whole like when you mentioned earlier, all of their learning was basically through Chat GPT, so just going off of whatever the already pre-programmed information is, right? Not using your intellect, not using your mind, not thinking freely, not thinking like an individual. It's all very anti that, while somehow still not feeling like they're beating you over the head with something that's modern day. Right. The closest thing that you could get to that would be like the anti-AI bit, because a lot of creatives are very naturally anti-AI.
But even that's not AI specific. It's about...
It's still not a one-to-one thing.
Right.
So
no, 100%.
I think it's being handled really well, and it's working so well in the context of this story. And I think I am probably at this point enjoying this book the most of the Absolute books.
After this issue, comparing everybody's issue 2, absolutely. I think I agree with you.
It's just it's also the one that's surprising me the most, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because Wonder Woman isn't really surprising me, because I knew Kelly Thompson was writing it, so I already knew what I was in for.
Boring.
Batman is and isn't surprising me. It is, because, you know me, I was not on board and not interested in the Absolute Universe at all in the lead up to it. But I'm also not surprised ultimately at the quality, because I know Scott Snyder knows how to write a good Batman story.
I knew that's what was going to be your ballast point, yeah.
Right. It's like he wrote one of the best books of an era that was filled with a lot of not good books, but he wrote a genuinely good book.
Yeah.
Right. And so I know he knows what he's doing. This book, though, because I'm not as hot on Jason Aaron. Right. He's super hit and miss.
More than
when he hits
anybody, I would vote that.
He hits, but when he misses, woof, that's a whiff. So I wasn't sure what to think about this book going in, and that first issue was like, huh, okay, like, I'm curious with your setup. I like Rafa Sandoval's art.
Oh yeah,
show me what you got. And this issue answered that call, because this issue, this was my concern. I I don't want one-to-ones with the Prime universe. Prime
yes,
Earth.
yes.
But at the same time, there are certain constants that I do want to see. And Superman being a character who instills hope and embodies hope for me is that thing that I do need to see.
I think that should be sort of always the core idea of a multiverse take on something, is not like, oh, we're just going to randomly change it. And so Batman, he doesn't have, dead parents or anything. He doesn't fight crime. He sells TVs or whatever. And he decided to become a vigilante. Like, that's not Batman. What these Elseworlds and what ifs should be doing is, like, if you make a new, like, this is a new universe, a new Superman, at the core, it's supposed to still be the same, like, person.
It should still be Superman.
Right. Even if he lands in Russia or in Nazi Germany or in Atlantis, he'll have different values. He'll have different expressions and things he does and likes and eats or whatever, but he's still hope. Like, even when he does land in those fascist places, he breaks with that ideology very fast. Well, the Nazi one doesn't. That one, they commit to that one. Kudos to DC, but
they committed to the bit.
But yeah, so that's what I agree with you on, is that, like, I want all the setting. I want, different takes on these things, but I should still be able to, like, this is a Batman story. Like, this is still Superman. This is still Wonder Woman, even if, he doesn't have a fortress of solitude. He has a small shack in Brazil. He's still giving hope. He's still radiating, awe, if you will. So, yeah, no, that's what I agree with you. And that is what was probably is my favorite part of this book, is during Lois's report, or like in her report, she talks about Clark in this way that it's like, he's a boy, but he's a man. He's so innocent. It's odd. But she noticed that, like, he naturally has this air of, like, he can be like soft spoken, like, hey, how are you doing? And then, like, change into get out of here or I'm going to laser you, like that. And she says, like, it comes across without feeling like an affectation. Like, he's not fake. This feels like a man who cannot help but be earnest. And to me, like, that is Superman. At his core, deep down, more than anything, he is a good person. So he will, like, he should always be the approachable one, the Superman figure. There's really no other term to describe it. Like, he should always be that inspiration type thing without trying very, very hard. So as soon as we got that, I was like, I'm so in for this. Like, please, let's keep going. Like, do not end this issue. Don't end this issue.
Just book of the week. Easy.
Easy book of the week. I will admit,
this is actually the second book that I read too.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So I read it and I was like, and then I messaged you immediately afterwards. I was like, I think this is going to be my book of the week, because I couldn't imagine anything topping it.
Nothing came close. Like, nothing this week came close.
At that point, I can't remember if I had or hadn't yet read JLU. I can't remember.
I feel like no, because I feel like you would have messaged me and said something if you read JLU and been like, this is stupid.
It was just kind of, it existed. It was a book. But this book was phenomenal.
Oh, this is a sweet, I didn't notice this detail until right now, but on this page, on the bottom panel, the cape is like carrying people. Like, people are laying on it. I didn't catch that at first. I thought they were just like walking and he was shielding them. That's super cool. No, that's the one criticism I think I will raise, but it's a very personal one. It's starting to look like the fire effect on his suit isn't going to be like an energy buildup thing. It looks like it's just visual effect for his AI, which bummer, but considering how awesome the rest of this book is, I'll live with it. And I'll just steal the idea for myself. I'll steal the idea for myself.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was book of the week. Do you, Andrew, want to get into Flash, considering we're almost about to hit 4 hours? We can. I'm ready to. How are you feeling?
4 hours. You know,
we
I
can
think
always...
it's probably better that we either save it for next week,
okay,
or that you and I can just chat offline in DMs and complain about it.
We probably will do that anyway, but I hear you.
I don't, now thinking about it and real, you just bringing it up right there, about to hit 4 hours, that that's not going to be a short conversation.
No, that's the only reason I asked. That was literally the only reason I asked, because I'm like, it's not going to be short. We're going to get into it.
it's the Flash. You and I have feelings. We have thoughts, a lot of them, and we'll go on for another hour.
All right.
If not more.
So clearly we will save the Flash for later. Maybe we'll roll it into whenever the next issue comes out. I think this one's monthly, so a couple weeks
monthly,
from now,
yeah.
Maybe we'll roll it into that. Maybe if we get
the next trade for the Flash
chance.
also comes out next week.
Oh, that was fast. That's going to be like the end of the Spurrier run for that trade. Pick it up. I know you're still behind, but I know you want to catch up. But so let's hold on Flash, because I know this. The thing is going to take us like 3 hours to discuss, because you and I are going to be pissed off about it. That's a tease for all of you readers or watchers out there. We have a lot of thoughts on Flash, so we will either tackle it next week, and if not next week, whatever week we have a lower stack, or when the next Flash issue comes out, whichever comes first. You know how that kind of goes. So buckle up, guys. Catch up on your Flash. We have thoughts. Let's just put it that way. We have thoughts. You will get it eventually. But like Andrew said, and like I say, we didn't realize it has been 4 hours of this stream already. That's what happens when I don't even know what it was.
We were also covering 2 weeks.
Well, we were covering so that's what I was going to say that, but we've covered multiple weeks before. There was just something about what we were talking about tonight where like you and I just went, because like you said, I didn't even realize how far we got. Like I didn't realize 4 hours had passed.
Yeah.
Until I glanced over. So I don't know. I still had fun with it. I still had a good week.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of stuff that I'm glad you and I got to talk about. Obviously, we have a lot of X thoughts. Venom is going to be interesting to see going forward. Absolute Superman is amazing. Justice League is something.
It was a book.
It was a book. And then Batgirl, definitely one of the more fun sleeper hits going on right now.
Batgirl is a sleeper hit right now for me,
definitely,
for sure.
Definitely a sleeper hit. So, guys, I think with that, go pick up Absolute Superman #2, easily our book of the week. Go pick up the Eban cover for All-New Venom #1, because that is definitely our
Eban.
All-New Eban, which is, for those of you guys who don't know, a lot of our, actually one of like the first connection points for our friendship was our appreciation of Eban Coelho's art. And then we got him on Venomore, and so Andrew and I have always been referring to the Venom stuff as like, are you reading Eban War? Are you reading All New Eban? So that's what we do here. We're going to keep doing it here.
If Eban is on the book, his name is going to be implemented in the title when we talk about the title.
100,000%, because he is the man. So if you can catch his holographic Venom cover, go pick it up. Genuinely surprised Andrew was able to find one on his shelf at his comic book store, like actually in shock. But that's our cover of the week. Absolute Soup book of the week. Someday I'm going to finish the like graphic thing I have for the end of the show where I'm like, look, here it is. You guys can check it out. But that is not this week. Until that time, though, I guess it is time for us to sign off. Bid adieu. Starting with Andrew. Andrew, what do you have going on? Let the people know. I know you are busy as hell, but you've got some cool things going on. Well, you and the Rippaverse.
Busy as all sin, no question about that. Blood Earth #1 is still live for pre-order.
Yeah, why did I move away from our like full screen layout? Because I was literally just going to go back to pull up
first horror book set in the Rippaverse. Check it out. Great chilling story. Beautiful art. The artist was commissioned after he won our second Rippaverse art contest during ISOM 2. So that's something that I'm actually very proud of, that we were able to give a full project.
It's so cool.
Commission to somebody who just won a fan art contest. So like, and to his credit, he earned it, and his interiors on this book are fantastic. So fantastic, in fact, that we decided to release a black and white lines only version of the book, which is not some overly bloated, overpriced black and white version, which is cheaper to print, but DC and Marvel would end up charging you probably 2 to 3 times the normal cover price for it. We, however, charge you half. Dude, so it's only $15 for this black and white version.
I need to like note this to you. I don't know what it means or what we can take away from it, but it's been on my fucking mind. Like, you guys announced the Blood Ruth, right? The Blood Ruth Noir, or Black and White, if you will. After that, DC started doing, like, at the same time, the Absolute Noir editions. Like, I don't know what that means or what to take from that. It's probably just a coincidence, but I was just like, you guys are ahead of the game. All right, Rippaverse, good job.
I'll take it. But I'm happy that we have that because I love line art variants. I think they're fantastic, and this is a beautiful book inside and out. So definitely check that out. Saturday evening, you can find me over on Mary Mayhem's channel on YouTube. We're going to be sorting some Christmas-themed characters, Christmas holiday characters, and then she'll also be hanging out and just doing a one-on, like one woman stream a little bit prior to the sorting, just chatting, hanging out with our audience. So definitely check that out. Saturday afternoon, however, you can find me on my channel streaming solo games. I'll be streaming Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed, still going through that. Sunday evening, I do my community nights, which is Mario Kart, Mario Party, and Smash Brothers over on my Twitch and YouTube, both Caffeinated Wolf, though I do stream to X as well. And then Tuesday nights, check me over on the High Council. That's all I got. Other than that, guys, thank you everybody who supports the Rippaverse. Thank you for everybody that's supporting this channel, and my personal channels, and Mav's personal channel as well.
Yeah, but I've got a couple things going on, just a few things, but no. Aside from that, guys, check out all of Andrew's stuff. I have the link to his YouTube channel and his Twitter down in the description below. I need to add the Twitch. I don't know why I blanked on that, even though I was editing the description earlier today. Otherwise, go check out his stuff. It's great. Otherwise, you can join us on Discord. As always, there is a temporary Discord link down in the description of this video. It will take you to the Kabuto Studios server, where we are currently hosting the foil variant chat and all that. So if you want to come hang out and chat with us, talk with us, we are around and hanging out there. The link down below is valid only for a couple more or for a few hours, I believe 6. So after that, you're out of luck, but you can always come back to whether it's my stream or another episode of Foil Variant. We'll always have one there for you. So if that sounds up your alley, come hang out. Aside from that, check out boundingintocomics.com, where we're putting up news every day. Check out my own channel, Kabuto Studios, where I host a live stream on Fridays, The Good, the Mad, the Ugly, where I kind of just hang out with you guys and talk about whatever. And then, yeah, come back next week, same bat time, same bat channel for another Foil Variant. I think that's really all I've got.
Right on. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. The fact that you appreciate intellectually honest comic book talk means we appreciate you.
Yep, and as long as you guys keep listening, we'll keep giving it to you. And even if you're not listening, this is probably something we'd be talking about on our own for hours and hours on end. So thanks for joining us, guys. We're glad we can entertain, and we will see you next week. Go check out Blood Ruth #1, and I think that's all we've got.
Godspeed.
Never before have we had greater face a complex, rapidly changing world. Think of it a moment.
It is a world in which supersonic speeds are commonplace. It is a world that has seen the coming of the atomic bomb. It has seen the rise of the total state, the dictator, and the mass man. It is a world of new sensations, new excitements, new distractions.
So much to be learned by so many in so little time.
And I suppose you're here with no agenda, as per usual?
On the contrary, I'm here for comics.
How's your comic book collection, Brody?
Oh, it's going good, but I've been...